Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 264th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I am your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call this evening, we have Dave the Hater Lowback, Ozzy Smith returning after a 1 week suspension, and Andy Patterson. Andy, you know it's time to listen to the Nuthouse whenever you've got the tissues out, the storage heaters are turned on, and the Stella Artois is on the table like Rob Barnett.
I was just about to say, Rob Barnett, he's living life like a god there, isn't he? He's just waiting for the mutton vindaloo to appear at his door. No rating storage heaters too much though, but he's telling me he's got underfloor heating, so that's a game changer, that one.
It's a game changer indeed. Gabe Lewis has jumped on the call as well. If anybody wants to join us, then piss off this week because we're going to be absolutely packed. You can come on next week instead. We're going to be covering all sorts of different things. We've got Kovalev, we've got Quigg coming up next week. We've got the last man standing. Kell Brook was boxing over the weekend as well. But let's start in the Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York, where Deontay Wilder knocked out Luis Ortiz in the 10th round. I went for the 9th round, so I'm nearly back on the train, so to speak, when it comes to the predictions. I didn't think Luis Ortiz would quite put Wilder in as much distress as he did in one of the rounds. Thinking back, a lot of people were saying, I think we had a question maybe from Matthew Fallon or somebody saying, is there a case to be made for Wilder maybe being stopped in that round? I don't think he was really at that point, but a few other people on Twitter seemed to think so. So maybe it was just me. I never got the impression that Wilder was going to get finished for some reason. I expected Ortiz to gas. I do strongly believe, conspiracy theory, that he is nearly 50. I don't think he's 38. I think he's an old man. And I didn't think that he'd be able to sustain it. And he wasn't able to. Saying that, he used his right jab, his southpaw lead very nicely indeed. And maybe Dave the Hater Lowback, a younger, fitter version of Luis Ortiz, might have been able to get the job done last night. What do you reckon?
It's possible. I think he looked in pretty good shape. He's never been super ripped. He's a very big guy, and his muscles take a lot of blood and a lot of oxygen to work properly. So and in fact, I don't think he even gassed as badly as all that. I think he was really, really hurt by the end, and that's why he crumbled. Wilder impressed me last night. He keeps somehow clinging on to his O and stopped every single person he's ever faced. That's an achievement. I considering like my expectations for Wilder towards the beginning of his career, towards when I first heard of him, were very low, especially after you see him windmilling, after you see the kind of opposition he's been in with. Like he was in with some of those guys who were like 800 pounds, bowling ball shape, and he's just like pounding them on the ropes, and you're like, well, this doesn't tell us anything. But he's been gradually, slowly stepped up, and he keeps passing the tests, not always with flying colors, but always with a knockout, except for Stavern, and then he got him back with a knockout in the rematch, of course, which was pointless. He tried to fight Povetkin. Povetkin cheated, so he couldn't. He tried to fight Ortiz when he was a little younger, couldn't because popped positive. No one really knows for sure whether that was cheating or some sort of contamination. But this is a big win for him. I think Ortiz is not a guy that most people want to fight. And I don't think Wilder had to fight him either. I don't know. Is he a mandatory? I don't know.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So Ortiz is he was sort of a boogeyman of the division, even though he's looked bad in his last couple of fights. I don't think anyone really wanted to fight him, which is why I thought that Tyson Fury would get a lot of credit if he came back against Luis Ortiz, because I think he would have schooled him. He didn't do that. Wilder did it, and he gets all the credit now, and good for him. Impressive display of patience early on. The crowd was booing, but Wilder stayed composed. He was defensively reasonably solid. The problem came when he decided, he had him hurt, I got to rush it and finish him. And then that's when he got countered by that really nice right hook by Ortiz. That shook him up a little bit, and Ortiz followed up with a really beautiful left hand that really hurt him. But Wilder hung in there through it. A lot of people were yelling that the fight should have been stopped at that point. I don't think so. I think he was on his feet. He was still trying to hold, even throwing some arm punches back. And by the next round, he wasn't fully recuperated, but he was on his feet. His legs were steady enough, and he was able to protect himself for the whole, 8th round. The 8th round, he saw it out, and he got his legs back under him, and Ortiz kind of wore himself out a bit more, even though he had a good round. By the 9th, Wilder was back in control, and had probably one of his better rounds of the fight at that point. And then that set up the final, the 10th round, where he stopped him with just unloading right hands and just the sheer volume. I don't think Ortiz could deal with it. It was the work rate at that stage in the fight, the work rate, the power. Wilder's a superbly conditioned athlete, and I liken him to the heavyweight Antonio Margarito, except he's got real power.
Yeah, I did feel that a lot of the ending was to do with Ortiz's deficiencies, mainly the age and fitness. I know Dave doesn't necessarily agree. I thought the body was the key for Ortiz, even when Wilder was hurt. You know, just forget about the bombs to the head and scratch that body, because he was tucking away some nice shots to the body at times. After a nice start, Aussie, which shows just what you can do with good boxing fundamentals, Ortiz was visibly tiring in around the 7th round, I thought, and so much so that Wilder decided to come on and throw a lot of shots. And Ortiz did something that I love to see. He threw with Wilder. He didn't wait for him to throw and then throw back again. You throw, I throw. He threw with him, and look what happened. He caught Wilder while he was throwing with a right hook and hurt him. And that's always the danger, Aussie. That's always a good tactic to use.
Definitely. And what I was impressed with was Wilder's chin. Now, there's been a lot of talk that he's chinny and he can't take anything. And whilst he was buzzed visibly, he didn't go down, and he recovered relatively well, to be honest. And it ticked another box for Deontay Wilder. Now, arguably, he's not been tested that much, but I think it's fair to say that this was a very good win. Now, when Anthony Joshua beat Vladimir Klitschko, there was pre-talk. It was all he was an old man and things like that. That was completely abolished when he beat him. And I think it's similar again here, that Ortiz was good and he did cause him problems. I thought the cards were poor and he was winning the fight. But Wilder, I thought the finish was excellent. I thought was it round 4 he dropped him, or earlier in the fight as well. I thought it was a great shot. And
round 5.
Was it round 5? Yeah, round 5. And whilst it was good to see from Ortiz, where he stood there and basically traded with him, which no one really wants to do that with Wilder, because that right hand is a leveler, absolute leveler. It has so much power in it, and I think he could stop he can really stop anybody with it. I think Wilder's come out on the very good side of this, and the only opponent I want to see him in next with now is the winner of Joshua and Parker.
Talking of Wilder's fundamentals, Andy, or lack of, I suppose, he is quite a phenomenon. He was cocking the right hand back. Whenever he throws shots, his legs sometimes go springing up and down in the clinches, and he is quite an unorthodox character. Michael Gearty threw in a question. He said, Andy, when was the last time there was a world champion who was as bad at boxing as Wilder and managed to get away with it for as long as he has? So Mr. Gearty has shown us where he's standing. What do you think about Wilder's skills?
I've said it for a long time, mate. He's still, even though he's almost 40 fights or something like that, he's still raw. Still got the same defensive deficiencies, I should say. Sorry. That was a great short right hook for Ortiz to actually hurt him there in the 7th round. If you actually go back and watch it, you see this happen with Amir Khan sometimes when he tries to attack, especially comes forward in straight lines. He throws a jab, but it's like a lazy jab, because all he's trying to do is measure a distance to try and bring the right hand in behind it, because obviously it's his money punch. But is he kind of like, I don't think he actually even threw the jab properly, but he put it out there. He then brings it way low, rather than bring it straight back to the side of his face. He drops it. So as he then goes to throw the right hand, Ortiz has already got the gap through the right hook, and it's basically hit him in the chin. And he's went all over the place. I wouldn't say he should have been stopped or anything. I think he deserved every respect. Again, he's a champion. He didn't go down to one knee. He was, I would say, kind of slightly kind of unsteady, I suppose, coming out for the 8th round and that. But we've always kind of questioned whether Wilder has actually got the chin. It showed that he can take a shot. Whether he can take one, on a sustained basis, like I don't think he could do it. But he done well to survive, and he done well to get out the hole. The fight was going how I thought it. I think I said last week, actually, I did think I would see Wilder get on the jab more. He didn't really kind of get it effectively, shall we say. It was like, Dave says it himself, that the crowd was booing. but they were right into it once the guys started unloading. They got really into it. But I just think Wilder kind of came out with the mind frame that I need to make a statement here. And he looked for that right hand all night long. The right uppercut was an evil shot. It was absolutely beautifully kind of delivered. That was probably the best shot he'd feel like a technical standpoint. That was probably his best punch he threw in that entire fight, because as I say, if you look at him, he's all over the place. He's windmilling shots. Everybody knows this. He goes back in straight lines. Everybody knows that as well. He's just when he's attacking, he's just absolutely crazy, just throwing punches in all directions. I kind of felt sorry for Ortiz a bit, actually. One, he was going to get fucked over on the scorecards, regardless if I went a distance. I had him up by 2 points at the time of the stoppage. So we kind of know what the judges get a bit of kick in the balls here. It's just the gas tank wasn't there. A bit like Klitschko against Joshua. You had your chance, you should have took it, because the younger guys came roaring back and took you out. So you got to give Wilder a lot of respect for that. End of the day, some people did think he was Ortiz was going to quit on the fight, do a rego, kind of pull out on us and that. But he hung in there, tried to get. He got knocked down in 5th, got back up, hurt Wilder badly in the 7th, and then you could see it. He really threw in the towel. Actually, not in the towel, but he threw in everything that he had to basically try and stop Wilder, and he just couldn't do it, and he just couldn't recover. And the fisherman won at the end of the day, so he's held up his end of the bargain. The only fight we want to see in the heavyweight division now is between him and Joshua. So Femi keeps up his end of the bargain, but there's a lot of rumours going about that this fight might not even happen to 2019 because of the situation with the finances and clauses in the contract and stuff like that. Shelley Finkel's calling out Eddie Hearn. What Shelley Finkel said today isn't actually new news, because we all know what Eddie Hearn is like anyway. So, but I think it wasn't a great fight. At times it had its moments. Wasn't a classic by any means, but in the end, we did get a classic finish, and that's all we want. A definitive winner, and that's what we got in the end.
Yep, no arguments over who won. We do want a definitive winner, Andy. That is true. Gabe, Simon Alevi's been in touch, short and sweet for you. He says, a peak Ortiz beats them all for me. Wilder, AJ, etc. Sadly, we will never see them. We'll never see peak Ortiz, Gabe. Do you think he beats them all?
I don't know about that. I think it's kind of an interesting thought. I think we do that a lot in boxing, is question, who exactly would win in this scenario or that scenario. And I think my thought on it is it's not going to happen, so I'm not going to worry about it. I do think it would have been interesting to see, but, at the guy's age that he's at, realistically, if he wasn't able to be in a position he was in the 7th round last night and finish that fight, or even into the 8th round, when Wilder was still pretty clearly, stumbling around and looked pretty in bad shape. Do you think he would have been able to do it if he was 10 years younger? I don't know. It does make sense to think that way, but if he wasn't in shape to do it last night, I don't think he would have been in shape to do it 5-10 years ago, because by the age that he's at right now, he's gotten so used to doing things the way that he does. He's not going to change it, because he's however old he is, almost 40 years old, 35, whatever. And so in my mind, I don't know. It's possible. I just don't think it's something that I've really thought about too much. And what I saw last night was kind of what I thought I would see, is Ortiz was actually the smarter guy early on, controlling the positioning. And I pointed that out in our chat, that he was keeping his outside foot, his lead foot, on the outside of Wilder's lead foot. So he had position to stay away from the right hand. And, Wilder wasn't throwing it because he didn't have position, and he didn't have a good night with his jab. And so that's what really allowed Ortiz to control the early rounds. And then, as with any heavyweights, whenever you have a couple of powerful guys like that, whoever lands the first big punch is going to be on, and the other guy's going to be in trouble. So I thought it was a really good fight. I enjoyed it from the tactical standpoint of watching Ortiz work, fundamental. It was great. And then seeing Wilder find a way to make it happen. You know, I think you got to give him some respect because of what he did. I keep hearing people talk about how his chin is, and I don't necessarily think it's the greatest of all time. But I think last night it was more of a reality that if he was in with a Joshua, a guy that's in better shape, he probably got finished off. I don't see him making it out of that if he doesn't have a guy in front of him that's a little bit older who's trying to conserve more and be a little bit more selective with his punches. So from my perspective, I thought it was entertaining to watch that, and then to see him come back and then score the big knockout. You know, I could see that Ortiz, I felt, was getting tired. I think that was really the biggest factor in the end, was that they were both landing big shots, and they were both getting some hurt put on them. But in the end, it just came down to who had the more gas in the tank. And so I thought that it was a really good fight. Really good fight.
What did you guys think about the corners? I noticed Mark Breland in Wilder's corner. I guess I've never really paid much attention to him as a trainer. He doesn't seem to have a huge personality or presence in the corner. He very calmly said this was after Wilder just got the shit beat out of him at the end of the 7th. He just says very calmly, after about 30 seconds, Wilder sitting there, "Keep your hands up." So he was very sparse with his advice. Meanwhile, after the 8th round, and this is a round where Ortiz was quite dominant. It was sort of a follow-up to the round where he almost stopped for Wilder. He did really well, and then his corner was panicking after the 8th. I don't know if they sensed he was really tired or what. They were panicking. They were saying, "Come on, this is your chance. Get in there." He had all of his help, his handlers rubbing his arms down. Now, I assume that was to stimulate blood flow and make sure that he still had something in those arms to throw with.
He was flagging, Dave. You see him in the corner. He slumped down. It was as if like, oh, I haven't got this guy out of here. His head was down. He looked like someone who'd had a bad round rather than a good round.
It was it was weird because I don't understand that arm rubbing thing either. Because for one thing, it didn't seem to work. For another, I always remember the Tommy Hearns Marvin Hagler fight, and Emmanuel Stewart always lamenting that some guy had rubbed down Tommy Hearns' legs prior to the fight, and that it left his body spent and ruined everything. So I don't know. What is the point of that arm rubbing thing? Did it help or hurt him?
Well, I was watching a fight recently. I can't remember who was involved, but after every round, the fighter slumped down on his stool and put his arm on the ropes, and the trainer immediately grabbed the arm and threw it right down to his side straight away before he did anything. He made a point of doing that. So it's obviously to keep the blood flowing, circulating down to the hands and stuff, I imagine. And maybe it's to do with his blood pressure, Dave. You know, the way Ortiz has a problem with the old high blood pressure.
No, he's about 60 years old.
He's definitely about 50, I reckon. Okay, let's move on. Rob Kelly will be on soon, so no doubt we shall return to this subject. Just before we move on to the undercard, I enjoyed the undercard. Richard Swig came on Facebook and he said, just finished watching the Wilder-Ortiz fight. Wilder has been underrated for a long time because he looks so ungainly in the ring, but his sheer athleticism makes up for all of his obvious deficiencies. I think he knocks Joshua out, says Richard. Joshua is too easy to hit and he doesn't have the gas tank to maintain his best work rate late into the fight, whereas Wilder is dangerous right up until the final bell. Now, Andy always would have gone for Joshua out of the two of them, but I think that Mr. Swig does make a reasonable point there.
I'm still picking Femi to win him, especially if it's in the UK, but I just think ability-wise, I just think Femi's at a different level. Just, straight, especially the straight shots and that. We'll talk about Bivol later on. I thought he really mastered the basics here last night, but Femi could just punch right through Wilder. And going off how tentative he was there last night, he was obviously respectful of what Ortiz could deliver and land on him. If he's anyway sort of tentative with Joshua, I think it'll give him a lot of a big boost of confidence. He'll just keep coming forward. I agree with what they're saying, that Wilder, he can turn it around, with one shot. But at the end of the day, what's more better? Getting absolutely kind of beaten up at one point off one of the greatest heavyweights in the last 15, 20 years, or you get, almost dropped off somebody say between 15, 56-year-old fucking Cuban heavyweight. I just think Femi, far better, technical ability than Wilder. I still think he was punched right through him, and you just look at Wilder's legs, you can see it as well. A wee bit like Khan when he gets hit, he's all over the place. He's just, it's like when he gets hit, it's like he doesn't know technically what he should be doing to try and get himself out of bother. So he'll no hold. He'll try and kind of like launch off a big right hand and try and get himself out of bother, or he'll kind of sidestep out of distance and then try and run about the ring. Technically wise, he hasn't got anything, which I think Josh was kind of like more seasoned, more rounded in that kind of respect as well. So it's it's intriguing. There is a lot of questions for and against each fighter here. So it's obviously it's going to happen. And at the minute, I'm still picking Femi though.
Gabe, did you want to add something in?
Yeah, I think so. I think kind of something that we're overlooking to some extent is well, I think we touched on it with the discussion about Mark Braylon. Is I don't know if you want to change Wilder. I don't know if you want to make him a really sound technical guy. He has great kinesthetic awareness of where he's at and where his body's at in relation to his opponent. And it's not clean, and it doesn't always look good. But it's interesting because last night, some of the times whenever he was in a bad position or whenever he was, looked awkward, he was able to land his punches still. And to me, it kind of reminded me a little bit of what I think of whenever I saw, one of my favorites that we've talked about before, Vic Darchinyan. He was a really awkward fighter. And if you were to change him into a technically sound fighter, it wouldn't have worked. And I think the same is true of Wilder in that part of what makes him so dangerous, part of what makes him so good is that kind of awkwardness. If you go to a gym every day and you see a technical wizard and that guy consistently keeps proper distance, proper technique in every aspect of his game, and you see that consistently, that's what you get used to. And then you have an awkward guy in front of you that can throw punches from some weird angles and that can maneuver himself, even whenever he's not in really good position or maybe even bad position, and still land a big punch that's able to put you on your ass. I think that's a big game changer. I think that's what makes Wilder so unique, and what's enabled him to get as far as he has is because he's awkward. If he tried to change and be a technical wizard, it wouldn't work. There was several points last night where I saw him looked off balance. His feet were a mess. He just kind of looked out of position and technically unsound. But that's whenever he would land a big punch, or that's whenever he would land a punch that would keep Ortiz back just enough to give himself time to reset his feet and get into something of a more safe technical positioning. And so I think that weirdness that we all see and that a lot of people are saying is going to be his downfall is actually what makes him interesting and unique with the way that he's able to perform.
I agree. I agree with Gabe that
the athleticness is phenomenal. The athletic ability is what's keeping him going.
It must be very hard to fight a guy like him because how do you know where the next thing is going to come from? He doesn't do anything technically as you expect. So I can sympathize with Ortiz in that, like, what the hell? I mean, he's doing everything wrong and he's still smashing me with the right hand somehow.
We're going to have our first guest coming on in about 5 minutes' time, so I will keep an eye out for him. Just before we do so, let's get on to the undercard. When the going gets tough, the Durrells get running. This was an interesting fight. Durrell kept on looking outside the ropes. I'm wondering whether he's looking for Leon Lawson to come in and help him, maybe, because he needed a bit of Leon. This was a bit of a role reversal here, because for a supposed slickster, Durrell sure hell gets hit a lot in there. And for somebody who's supposed to be a bit of a come-forward fighter with all those stereotypes attached, I thought Uskatagi was absolutely excellent last night. Loads of movement. The head movement was superb. He was finding a home for the right hand. His footwork was excellent. He was turning sort of southpaw, mid-shot. Durrell didn't know where the punches were coming from. He couldn't fight him in the centre of the ring. He couldn't fight him against the ropes. It was an excellent performance from Uskatagi and thoroughly deserved redemption for the man. I don't know if anybody wants to revel in Durrell's fall. Andy, just before you do so, let me just mention Johnny Nelson, actually, because I was watching the first 7 rounds in work with no sound on, and I thought that Uskatagi was just completely sweeping. He was dominating the fight. I had him up about 5 rounds, and I thought Durrell has won the 6th. Then all of a sudden, Johnny Nelson's scorecard comes on the telly, and I'm thinking, oh, I must have been seeing this wrong, because he has it even, including giving Durrell the opening round. Am I full of shit, Andy, or is Johnny on one here?
Johnny's definitely on one, mate. I had it wide for Uskatagi last night. I think I had it something like 79, 73 or something like that. I agree with everything what you said there. He was just dripping with confidence there, Uskatagi. He looked like a guy who, one, that he couldn't be stopped, and two, he was never going to be stopped. I shared with you guys during the week, actually, I watched a video with Radio Raheem with Andre Durrell, and he did not sound good whatsoever. Now, didn't lay reference to it as such, but the title of the video was the one that really kind of caught my interest in it. It says that he's still dealing with the effects of the first fight. Now, I'm expecting Durrell to obviously explain what these effects were, but no, it wasn't it. So it's obviously like, say, Raheem's actually kind of his own opinion of the guy. He sounded punch drunk, concussed. I don't know what you want to call it, but he didn't sound or look all the way there. When he was trying to explain himself, he looked like he was drifting on foot into space. He was looking away forward into the thing, way forward in front of himself and stuff. He just didn't look right whatsoever. And I think that showed in the ring there last night. It was absolute chaos in his corner as well. At one point, I think it was Stitch Duran that was going to stop the fight rather than Virgil Hunter. I'm like, what the actual fuck's going on here? No, it's obviously they knew he had nothing to really turn that fight around the way it was going anyway. But I just can't see how Durrell was going to have any future in the sport now. I mean, he's bailed in 2 fights. He's claimed in the past of neurological problems. Judging by, as I say, that video that I watched during the week there, it's probably going to back up the point. He's not got the light, quick cat reflexes that he had. Remember when he fought Froch, for example? You know how he kind of keep out of bother. Hasn't got that. Off the ropes, on the ropes, he hasn't got anywhere power to kind of turn the tide around.
And he's an arsehole as well, Andy, let's be honest, isn't he? Just his demeanour. Uskatagi was smiling, he was trying to touch gloves, and there was one incident, I think it was about the 6th or 7th round, it just summed Durrell up. He pushed Uskatagi's head down, and then he took a left hook swipe at him while his head was down, and Uskatagi just laughed it off, and the referee let them fight on. And I just thought, you know what, that just sums him and his family up.
Family of Snides. And see, the thing is, see if he actually turned the roles in that situation, you can guarantee Durrell would be fucking playing possum. He'd be wanting something done about that. He'd be faking, he'd be claiming brain injuries and all that sort of shit. But no, I'm really happy for Uskatagi. No many people are going to want to fight this guy, actually. He is tough, he's rugged, he's awkward. You know, nobody's going to want to fight him. And the fact is he's now got a belt, or an interim belt, shall we say. He's got at least going to get a chance to fight for the real world title, or one of the belts. But Durrell, I mean, end of the day, I don't know if anybody watched it between the corners and stuff like that, but they wanted to pull him out. He's like, no, and then he's claiming about a hand problem. And then when the fight does get called off, he starts losing his mind. Why you stop me? Why you stop the fight? Look, dude, you got stopped because A, you've got your cunt kicked in. B, you're already brain damaged. And C, your family didn't want to see you getting absolutely evaporated and just basically destroy whatever quality of life you've got left. Because, as it just says there, judging off that performance there, and what I've been hearing from you recently, you need to retire for your own health. Or either that, you've been drinking too much of that water that they've got up, what's the name of that place up there in America?
Flint, Michigan.
At least you've been drinking too much of that water that's contaminated up there. It's fucking with your mind or whatever. But nah, man, he needs to chuck it. I mean, I'm trying to be respectful here, but Durrell, it's staggering. He's only had 28 fights in his career and stuff like that, but he's still waiting for that big name breakout win performance type thing. Uskatagi was beating him in the first fight. It's time for him to go. I know it must absolutely kill him. If you look at him, between him and his brother, you'd think he would be the one to pick up a world title, but no, it's his brother, and he must fucking burn at him that his brother's actually got a world title and he hasn't. But no, he needs to retire now. I mean, for the sake of his own health, he needs to go. That's what I've really got to say about it, actually, in all honesty. But no, it was he got what he deserved. We were waiting a while for that actually to come. So it's been good that Uskatagi actually got that. No, I'm being serious actually, because that guy, you know, you get fighters who are actually they're absolutely blessed with technical gifts and abilities and all that sort of stuff. But it fucks me off no end when talent doesn't work hard enough, or you fucking pussyfoot about or play at it and stuff like that. Guys, I've always said that Ricky Burns, for example, he always fucking drained the absolute maximum out of his career on very limited ability, whereas this guy could have actually went ahead and maybe done a lot more. But the fact of the matter is against the likes of Froch, for example, he could have made his name there, but he didn't want to get hit. And if said he got robbed and all that sort of stuff, I did have him winning the fight, but you know, you got to do more. You've got to do more. But no, you need to draw a line under his career and just retire, mate. All the best for yourself.
Well, I agree with your and Steve's analysis of what happened. I don't agree with necessarily your interpretation. I felt bad for Dirrell. I know he's all the bullshit throughout the years. I mean, it's only hurt him. It's not really hurt us as fans. I mean, there's always been other fighters at 168 to pick up the slack. And if he's not going to work hard enough, and he's not going to, if he's not going to stay active as a fighter, which he didn't for years, the only person that really comes back on is him, and then it's hurt his legacy. And I think you're probably right. He's regretful of those years he spent out of the ring. His prime is gone now, and I think probably long gone. I don't think he's ever going to be close to what he could have been. And I think that's kind of sad, just for him. And I feel bad for him. As fans, we had Andre Ward, we had Carl Froch, we had great stuff to watch. He's just has nothing left now, which is and on top of that, probably a damaged brain. Last night was, I don't know. He had just signed with Virgil Hunter, and I really have to criticize Virgil Hunter. I mean, that was a disaster of a corner, as Virgil Hunter admitted after like the second round, whatever. He said, "This is chaotic in this corner, but we're gonna get through it." Like, why do you just shout that out in your own guy's face when he's like already obviously struggles with confidence?
Dave, see during one round or between rounds, I forget what round it was, but you know, Hunter gets in the ring late after the rounds ended. Dirrell's not sort of bothered at this point. He's not got a bottle of water. He's fucking waiting a good 20 seconds for this bottle of water to get handed in. As you say, and as Steve says, it's fucking chaos.
Like, fucking water. Well, why don't you start calm down and focus on the fighter? I mean, and it seemed like he only had like half a game plan completed in there, because we knew from the first fight, which was better, that he wanted Dirrell off the ropes, because Uskatagi did his best work on the ropes when he got Dirrell up and he couldn't move, and he just teed off on him, because Dirrell's best defense has always been his movement. He's always overused it, but when you try to change a fighter's style, you end up with what you had last night. So he didn't want him backing up on the ropes, but instead he has him just standing in the middle of the ring, not moving at all, and he's just getting teed off on, especially with that lead right hand. It was brutal. His whole forehead was swollen up, and like I assume that Virgil Hunter sort of had a game plan in mind where he wants to control the center of the ring, right? But then you got to protect yourself. He probably wanted to throw in a little Andre Ward in there, because Ward controls the center of the ring. He doesn't tend to move back much. But Dirrell can't move his head inside like Ward can. He can't tie up. He can't work the body in that way. It's just he completely tried to change his style, and it had disastrous results. And to add on top of that, I think he was terrible during the fight as well as a cornerman. I think he was way too excited, way too concerned. And as the beating wore on, he just started sitting outside the ring. When the stoppage finally came, he didn't even know what was going on. Stitch Duran had taken over the corner, it seemed. And you had Virgil yelling outside the ring, "I'm going to give you one more round. I'm going to give you one more round. You want me to stop it?" Meanwhile, it seemed like Dirrell and Stitch had already decided to stop the fight because he was getting battered. So I don't really know what the hell Virgil Hunter's role in camp was, or what kind of relationship he has with Dirrell, but the takeaway from one fight together is not good. On the other hand, though, I wanted to say, like, you're right about Uskatagi. He looked phenomenal. He was clearly in the zone, well up for the fight. His combinations were, I mean, Dirrell made it easy on him by just sitting there to be hit, but Uskatagi did a phenomenal job.
Thank you, Dave. Excellent. Thank you. Right, we have our first guest on the call. Thank you for joining us. It's Mr. Mark Dynamite Heffron. How are you, Mark?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm keeping well. Thanks for joining us. For those who don't know, Mark is a current pro, 18-0 with 14 knockouts. We're talking about all the stuff from over the weekend, Wilder, Ortiz, Kovalev, all those type of things. Mark, did you manage to see anything that stuck out over the weekend?
Well, I watched Kell Brook, and I seen the anti-Wilder. I was in bits of that, yeah.
What did you think of Kell Brook? Impressive finish?
Yeah, it was impressive. Yeah, it was a good finish, yeah.
What about, just sticking on Kell, do you think he'll fight Amir Khan? And if he did, who do you think would win?
Well, I hope the fight happens. Jen, I think Kell Brook will knock him out.
Kell Brook will knock him out. You heard it there from Mark, everybody. Just looking at your own career, Mark, you're obviously up at super middleweight now. How are things going for you, training-wise? And are you in a good space at the moment?
Yeah, everything's going good for me, yeah. I'm down high now, training with Ricky Hatton. I'm enjoying it, yeah.
What's it like to train under Ricky, obviously, with his name and his reputation? Is that a factor, or is it just business for you?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I love it, yeah. It's good, yeah, because he's learning everything that he used to do and stuff. So, yeah, I'm learning new things every day.
Is he getting you to swivel off to the side, maybe plant a little left hook to the body, as was his trademark in his prime?
Yeah, we do a lot of that. Yeah, we do a lot on the body bag and stuff. Yeah, it's good. Enjoy it.
And who does he have you sparring with, or who are some of the better names you've sparred with over the years?
I sparred loads of people. Like, for my last fight, I was sparring Lyndon Harpers, I was sparring Jose Burton, I was sparring Callum Johnson, Darryl Williams, Chris Blaney, Jake Haig. Like, we sparred loads, but I sparred Amir Khan and stuff. Sparred with Asnan Dam. I sparred with loads of good names.
And you mentioned Chris Blaney there. He obviously took part in the last man standing tournament last night. Did you manage to see any of that, or have you spoken to Chris now?
I was at a show in Oldham, Old Sports Centre, so I didn't get to see it. No, I missed the fights. Yeah,
it was entertaining. Obviously, it was down at middleweight. But I mean, if someone presented something like that to you, would you be interested in that format?
Yeah, well, I've just moved down to middleweight myself, haven't I?
Oh, so you're actually back down at middleweight now, then?
Yeah, I'm back down at middleweight. I'm fighting on the 19th of May, probably about 11-8, 11-9, and then I'm next in line for the British title, so I'll be fighting Tommy Langford for the British at middleweight. And
Tommy obviously had a good win over Jack Armfield recently. Did you see it? What did you make of it?
I've only watched little bits of it, yeah. He did a good performance, yeah. He pulled away from Jack Armfield in the later rounds, like. In the early rounds, it was a good competitive fight, and it was good, yeah.
Mark's moved back down to middleweight. I'm sure everybody probably knew that. I actually didn't realise that myself. You knocked out Lewis Taylor in your last fight. Taylor's a decent operator. Would that be the biggest name on your record, would you say, so far?
Yeah. Well, I boxed that Matteo Damien Bron in my 9th fight, and he was he was in the top 30 in the world when I beat him, and yeah, I got a good ranking off that, but then I injured my hand and I was out of the gym for about 12 months, and then I come back with 30, and then that's where I am now from there.
I remember in 2011 seeing you box in the City West Hotel on the KC Rigondo undercard. What was it like to be involved in a fight of that magnitude? What do you remember from the night?
From Vitsby, yeah, it was mint. Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I was in the same hotel as Rigondo. Yeah, it was a good experience. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
We saw George Groves obviously beating Chris Eubank. Who did you pick to win that fight beforehand? Did it go the way you expected, Mark?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I said that Groves would be too big for him, and his boxing skills as well, because Chris Eubank he likes to plant his feet and punch, and Groves is a good move, and like he didn't let Eubank standing for the punches, like he was moving a lot, wasn't he?
If Eubank were to move back down to middleweight, as we expect him to, I mean, he probably should. Would you fancy a crack at him yourself?
100%. If the money's right, I'll fight anybody.
Fair enough. Yeah. How would you fight someone like Eubank, someone who hasn't got the fundamentals of yourself, and maybe a little bit unorthodox, gets by on athleticism?
I just use my boxing skills, like what he's not got. He's got one thing, and that's just come forward now and have a fight. I can do it. I can do everything myself. So I mean, I can stand and have a fight, and I can box well. As a good amateur, you know what I mean? I won a lot of things in the amateurs, so I've got the boxing abilities to beat him.
Am I right in saying your brother Ronnie used to box as well?
Yeah, Ronnie. I don't think there was a single tournament that Ronnie didn't win as an amateur. He won all the ABAs at school, but won everything as a schoolboy, won everything as a senior in the seniors. And then, yeah, he turned professional. He had 17 fights. He boxed into Marcel on his 9th professional fight. He took that on 2 weeks' notice. Stupid, really, but I think the money was good. That's why he took it. And he got beat out Denton Marcel, and he boxed Liam Williams in his last fight. He got a big cut right through his forehead into his eye, and he got stopped because I think he was a round behind. Yeah,
I think I remember Ronnie maybe boxing Peter McDonough. Was that on the Chisora undercard? Yeah,
he boxed him twice. Yeah, Ronnie.
Good stuff. Just to remind our listeners, we've got middleweight Mark Heffron from Oldham on the call. It's good to have Mark with us. You on social media or anything that you want to plug, Mark?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. At Mark Heffron 91, and I'm on Instagram as well, Mark Heffron. Yeah.
We were speaking to Shane Singleton last week, and he was telling us some of the problems with the game. You know, he hasn't got paid by a certain promoter, and some of the things behind the scenes that we don't see. What are some of the more frustrating things as a professional boxer that have happened to you? You know, things that maybe the fans don't always know about.
Well, people think I've messed around in my career, but at the start of my career, I signed with Gary Hyde, and I just got messed about, and I wanted to build a career here in Britain, like, and get all my fan base behind me. And he wanted me for my first 10 fights. I boxed all over the country, in Poland, Netherlands, Germany, Ireland. I boxed everywhere, and like, I wasn't building no fan base. I wanted all my people to come watch me, and like, I tried to speak to him, but and then he ended up just leaving me sat out, and then stuff like that. Yeah, so I got messed around early in my career, and that's why like I've been sat back. I've not really done anything yet, but like this last year, I've got a lot of fights, and I'm doing good now.
That's good to hear. I'm going to open it up to our panel just before we let you go. Mark, you mentioned Gary Hyde there. Obviously, he's a promoter from Cork. We've had him on the show in the past, if people don't know who Gary is. Did you ever get to spar Hassan and Dam at that time? Because he was with Gary, wasn't he?
I sparred Hassan and Dam freaking tons of times. I did some 3 camps with Hassan. I stayed in Ireland for 9 weeks when I boxed in Ireland. I stayed in the room with him and stuff, and yeah, I sparred him for a full camp, and I sparred him for 3 different camps. Yeah, Hassan.
Fit guy, obviously. From what I've seen of him, he had an excellent jab. What did he do well, Hassan?
Yeah, he's a really good boxer. And when he used to spar him, actually, he used to deaden your arms, so you took your arms, and obviously then he tried it. But yeah, he'd pretend he's going to punch you in the head or to the body, and then he'd hit you on the outside of your arms. Yeah, he used to give you dead arms and stuff. He's a clever fighter. Little
pro tricks, experience and that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I learned a lot of Hassan from sparring him.
Yeah, very good fighter. And any of the lads on the panel got any questions for Mark before we move on?
Hi Mark, I just want to ask you one question, mate. I know you trained with Pat Barrett for a number of years. Obviously, I dare see you come across his son Zelfa, but were you surprised at Zelfa losing that fight against Ronnie Clark a couple of weeks back?
Yeah, I was very surprised because Zelfa's he's like one of my best British fighters, like today, obviously he's one of my mates and stuff, and I just think it might have took him a bit lightly, and I don't think it trained 100% for it, yeah, but I didn't expect that, no.
Thanks, Andy. Ozzy, do you have any questions for Mark?
Yeah, I have a couple of things, Mark. What was it like when you were out in America? Did you spend, I think you spent quite a bit of time at the Wildcard. Did you do a lot of things with Freddie Roach out there?
Yeah, I've done a lot of pads and stuff with Freddie, and I did a lot of sparring with Mikhalkin while I was out there. And I had to come back for the senior ABAs. I boxed Glenn Foot in the semi-finals of the senior ABAs, and Freddie Roach wanted me to stay out there and spar with Amir. But obviously, I wanted to get back to the ABAs because I wanted to win them that year. So I ended up coming back, but I was supposed to go back, but I never ended up going back.
And what did how much did you learn off him, and what comments did he say about yourself? Because obviously you would have been an amateur at the time, but did he rate your power and things like that?
I can't really remember because I was at like 17, 18 at the time, so it was a good few years ago now.
No, fair enough. And sorry, go on.
Go on, you're right there.
No, I was going to say, are you next out on the Selby Warrington card?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and what sort of opponent are they going to be looking to match with there? Is it going to be a step up from Lewis Taylor in preparation for a potential fight with Tommy Langford?
Yeah, definitely. It's got to be a step up because I want to get some with the good solid rounds, and I think it's either an 8-rounder or a 10-rounder. I'm obviously I need the step up anyway, so I get the good rounds in. Yeah.
And finally, from me, how is that fan base going? I know you mentioned that your time with Gary Hyde, you were all over the world at times and never really boxing, but I've seen that you've had a couple of shows in Oldham and things like that. How is that fan base going, and is it continuously growing now you've got that slot with BT and Frank Warren?
Yeah, definitely. Well, when my last fight, when I boxed in Oldham, I sold nearly 600 tickets. And when I boxed, I went to Newcastle. I've done 300 tickets in Newcastle. So that's people travelling all down there. But yeah, the fan base is built up massive now, and I'm buzzing for this next fight. I've ordered a few hundred tickets for this one down Leeds as well. Yeah, so I'm buzzing with the fan base. Yeah.
And just another quick one from me. Are there any other names in the middleweight division that you're looking at aside from Tommy Langford? Because I know there's some good names at that, particularly domestically. Is there anyone that you've got your eye on?
No, I've not really got my eye on anyone. No, I've just got my eye on that British title.
Okay, Ozzy. Yep.
Yeah, that's everything from me. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ozzy. And thank you to you, Mark, as well, for joining us. That's at Mark Heffron 91 on Twitter. And is it the same on Instagram, yeah?
Yeah, but on Instagram, it's just Mark Heffron, all in one with 2 ends on the end.
Okay, good stuff. And if anybody wants to sponsor you, anything like that, you're always open to those offers?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, of course, yeah.
Brilliant. Best of luck with the future fights, Mark. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thank you very much. You have to give us a follow yourself.
Don't worry, I will.
Oh, mate. Thank you very much.
Cheers. All the best now.
So, mate.
That's Mark Heffron. Thanks to Mark for jumping on. Thanks for Ozzy for sorting that out. Let's move on swiftly. Let's go to the Scottish stuff, Andy, before we move on. Tell me a bit of Josh Taylor. Not the best of opponents, Mr. Winston Campos. You could say, oh, well, the original opponent pulled out, but the original opponent wasn't great either.
Aye, Soto obviously past his prime, or well past his Selby date. I actually watched the vast majority of this card because I sacked off the Sky stuff, so I'll just kind of briefly run through it and people can dive in where they want. But Campos, we've said this before, I think Taylor's probably one of the best body workers in British boxing at the minute. He was absolutely savage again to the body, uppercuts, hooks and that. It's inevitable. He's going to be world champion at some point. His options are limited just now because obviously other fighters are tied up with other title fights and stuff. And I was looking through the WBC's rankings and judging by what Barry McGuigan was saying there last night as well, is I think they're going to have another fight before they even attempt the world title fight. So I can understand why, but he's ready to go now. I mean, he's 27. He's entering his physical prime at the minute. Unless you're going to put him in a live body, it's going to actually kind of test him again at world level to see if he's ready for it or no. Then that would be my pick. Jason Easton against Glenn Foote. This was actually a really good fight.
Great fight.
Fucking great fight. Glenn Foote, gave him every credit, man. He just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. No big hitter, but I tell you what, some of those right hands he was landing from time to time. Well, no time to time, regularly actually. He was catching Jason Easton over the top of his jab with the right hand all the time. It was only a matter of time before he actually started to wilt. He did get himself back into the fight after getting dropped heavily in the second round, but you just could see Foote just the pressure, just constant all the time. He was coming forward, jabbing right hands and stuff. And again, I say Easton, we've said it before, just defensively, he's very, very kind of loose. That's the last 2 or 3 fights, especially the Jamoy fight and that there last night. That shaves a few years off your career, this type of fights and stuff. But got to give Glenn Foote a lot of credit. He came up the road, bad weather. He came up here, done the business. It was a great performance for Glenn Foote. They deserve the title. Easton was taken to hospital as well. So, but he's been let out this morning and everything's all good and that, so that's good to see. Charlie Flynn, Ryan Collins rematch, again ending in a technical draw, again clash of heads, and again both fighters cut. Lee McGregor, again impressive, top amateur, but he's not fighting anybody, and you expect these type of opponents on the way up. But it's fair enough. And Chantel Cameron, she had a kind of tougher night than expected against some French girl. I think she was French anyway. She took a bit of a beating, but Cameron ended up with a bit of swelling about the left eye as well. Won every round and every card, I suppose. But she had it tougher than expected. But the type of fights will kind of do her a good learning service. So other than that, that was about it for the Scottish card. So other than Easton against Foot, it wasn't right much to write home about.
Yeah, a few brain cell killing punches, unfortunately, for Mr. Easton. I know that Aussie was like me, fancied Foot before that one. Not because Easton's not a good fighter, but he just gets hit far too often, is the truth. Afterwards, Barry McGuigan and Shane were talking about what's next for Josh Taylor, Aussie. The winner of Imam against Ramirez, they fancy. Garcia Lipinets is there as well. Maybe he's not seasoned enough for someone like Garcia at the moment. Danny Young threw a question in, Aussie. He said, what does the panel think should be the next fight plans for Josh Taylor for the rest of the year? He's a great talent. So what would you do with Josh for the rest of the year, Aussie?
Well, from what they've said, I was talking about it last night online, and his last fight was up at 140. So I originally said something like Dejan's Latikanin. I think it's a decent name. It's a very good test. And if he comes through him, he's all but ready for it. Perhaps someone like a John Molina Jr. Yeah, he's not the best. Taylor probably wins, but he poses different threats. Or the other one I said was someone like a Victor Postal. Again, brings different questions. He's fringe world level. So again, I think that'll be a very good fight. But it all depends what sort of money Cyclone will put up for him, because they're not going to let him go abroad. They'd be foolish to, unless it's like outstanding money. I mean, I saw that Figueroa has pulled out of this eliminator with Broner. Now, I think Taylor would beat Broner.
Has he pulled out, has he, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Flu or something, eh?
Yeah, something like that. He's
probably drunk.
Yeah, pissed up, or just knee deep in pizza, something like that. But if...
Talking about Broner there, right?
No, Figueroa.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Brunner. It sounded like what I can think Brunner would do, Get drunk and into pizza.
Both of them, really?
Well, both of them, yeah. No, I would go with... I can't see it happening, but that's a fight I think they could snap up as well. I think he poses all sorts of problems for him, but they get him into a level now. The long past domestic stuff. EBU is Yijit, but he's got a fight. I think he destroys him, so I think it's pretty meaning. Unless he just wants the belt, I don't see a point in that. So I think you're looking at these fringe world level guys, and then you're pushing him on to the world title shot. I think it's a bit of a mess, the WBC situation at the moment, isn't it? So he could be waiting around quite a while for that. So if he can get a shot at one of the other titles in the next 12 months, they've got to do that. But Cyclone have got to dig deep, because otherwise he'll either be going abroad or potentially he might be off elsewhere. But no, I agree with everything Andy said. Taylor is top class. He's a brilliant watch. He did exactly what he should have done to an opponent last night. He just bullied him. He beat him up. He had no respect for him. It was just a one-sided beatdown. And just another word on Glenn Foot. I was no malice or disrespect to Jason Easton, but I was really happy for him last night. I fully deserved. He got jobbed on the cards against Josh Leather. I was at the fight, and for me, Foot won it. He was on the wrong end of a decision, and he's gone out there and he's picked up a Commonwealth belt now. So he won't be short of fights, and he can hopefully go on and earn some good cash off it. But it was an excellent win, and he highlighted Easton's flaws, which is he regularly gets hit, and he couldn't miss with the right hand over the top. Easton was there to hit. I thought it was a dangerous fight for Easton, because, like we said previously, he gets hit. I think he's been dropped before as well. He's been buzzed, so it was really no surprise to me. And the bookies got that one completely wrong. I think they had Glenn Foot at just over 2-1. Foolish price, and it was one that was snapped up by myself and a few others.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get to the bottom of this WBC situation. Next weekend, Regis Prograis and Julius Indongo are fighting for the interim WBC title. And then a week after that, Amir Imam is fighting Jose Carlos Ramirez for the vacant WBC title. So maybe Josh Taylor can get himself in the mix. But there's two sets of fights that have to sort of take place first, if you know what I mean.
Well, that silver title was kind of like almost a kind of semi-interim title. Now, as I say, I looked at some names and stuff like that last night, and there's no much kicking about. You got Hiroki Okada for Japan, you got the boy for Canada, is it Yves Ulisais or how it's pronounced? Antonio DeMarco's still there. He's not got a fight arranged, and I think the other one was Victor Postol, but I think he's injured at the minute, so Felix Diaz was one that I was also looking at as well, but he's, he was a top amateur back in the day as well. He beat a few top names. I think he's got a fight arranged, and Anthony Yiggett, who was meant to be fighting next week, this coming Saturday, I think he's pulled out with illness as well, and he's not got a fight arranged. So he seems to be kicking around about still at junior lightweight, super lightweight. Sorry.
Is it sorry, Ozzy? Go ahead.
No, nothing from me. I must have just left myself off mute.
Not to worry. Any of the other boys want to mention anything about Josh Taylor before we bring Rob in on Wilder Ortiz? Speak now. Okay, we shall move on. Rob, it's good to have you. How you sounding?
I'm all right, dude. How's the fun?
Not too bad at all. Hopefully the dog's got walked. We always hear from him or her later on in the show.
He's fucking driving me mad. She's out in the kitchen at the moment, has cabin fever, and she hasn't shut the fuck up since I came in. But sure, look, we'll proceed and keep going.
We shall carry on. This is a question for you, Rob. I thought you might be able to answer. Simon Alavey sent it to me on Facebook earlier. He said, how did that bird who was rapping on Wilder's ring walk manage to keep the chebs in the shirt? That shirt defied physics.
That's Little Kim, by the way, who's a legend, former girlfriend of Notorious B.I.G. and Prodigy. And let me tell you something. Back in the 90s, when her album cover came out, people used to stab each other in New York to get a copy of the poster. Someone might stab you now if they gave a copy.
Has anybody ever stabbed anyone in Wexford to get your album, Rob?
No, but someone might stab you if you gave them a poster of her nowadays. She's had a bit too much surgery, although Little Kim is a legend, so I don't say too much. But yeah. I don't know about that, man. That remains to be seen. People stab each other in Wexford all the time, so I don't know.
Nothing out of the ordinary. Put all that aside, Rob, and tell me about the violence inside the ring, Wilder Ortiz.
Yeah, man. In many ways, that fight was a microcosm of Wilder's career thus far. We know he's sloppy. We know his fundamentals aren't great. We know he can be vulnerable. We hadn't seen him against a real live body, I guess, up until this point, but we've seen him show signs of vulnerability earlier in his career. But you have to give it to him last night. Grit and determination. He was almost out of there. He was behind on the cards for me anyway, by at least 2 rounds. They were going to job Ortiz anyway, but he pulled it out, man. And if he hits you, you're going to go like the glancing blows to the temple. You know what I mean? You're in trouble. Like, so, brilliant performance. Well, I wouldn't say brilliant performance for him, but brilliant win for him. Like, and it set him up now for a major payday. And if I'm sure, I don't know if this has been covered or not, but I'm sure we all saw that Shelly Finkel speaking in the press afterwards about Eddie Hearn, and he was making some good points, wasn't he? Like, they don't really want that fight now. They're talking about Big Baby Miller next. Like, that's a waste of time. Like, right? All right, you're trying to market him in the States. Wilder's become a big draw over in the States in his own right. And, I'm looking through my timeline today on social media from the hip hop community and just different people all over. Everyone's talking about Wilder now. Like, so let's get that fight made. Like, and it's, it's a case of who hits for or who lands first in that one. Like, and I've always said, like, Joshua's the better boxer out of the two, without a doubt. You can't take it away from him. But Wilder's that awkward, like he can land on you and just upset you. And he's got dynamite in his right hand. Like, felt a little bit for Ortiz. I thought he gave everything last night, even though he's a drug cheat. We give him the benefit of the doubt over his blood pressure, but could have scuppered everything there last night. Almost maybe if he was a bit younger, he might have got Wilder out of there. It was a bit longer in the 7th round or the 6th round. Not sure which one. He showed hard himself to get up off the deck, but an absolute atomic bomb of a right hand that just glanced him in the 10th and then took him out with the uppercut. So good for Wilder. Keeps the heavyweight division really exciting. I think we spoke about it in the chat, and I think Andy mentioned it on Twitter during the week. Like, how disappointing would we all have been if, say Wilder or Ortiz had won last night and Parker goes and beats Joshua? You'd have a kind of wouldn't be as big of a big fight there really in the heavyweight division. But now we got 3 potential big fights between Joshua, Wilder, and Fury coming back into the mix. So it's exciting for the first time in a long time. And good on Wilder. I'm sick of the bomb squad, by the way. He frightened the life out of one of the poor Corona girls during the week. You wouldn't get that with Judy.
Oh, I will come to Judy later, Rob. Just before you disappeared too quickly now, as you can imagine, before you came on the line, we were eulogising over the the regrettable, sad day this is that Andre Durrell's career could be over. Rob, have you got anything to add?
Oh, well, look, Durrell's career has been an enigma since the Abraham defeat, hasn't it? Like, and I think he's shown. I think he suffered in that. It wasn't. Didn't he have to go for a brain scan? They were going to write him off after that one.
Yeah. And
then he's come back, and I listened to an interview with him during the week. One of the lads posted in the chat, and we were all saying like he sounded punchy beforehand, like bit of madness in the corner with Virgil Hill and Stitch. Like Stitch is by no means an inexperienced guy, but he's the cut man, isn't he? Like he seemed like he was leading the reins last night. But Ustakaji has his number. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right.
Where did Virgil Hunter go? Did he not want to be associated with this performance after about round 6 and he didn't come back into the ring again?
I'm not sure. It just all seemed like chaos, didn't it? It was like chaos with Boulder. Oh, I'm sorry, I did just call him Virgil Hill, David. Sorry, Dave Lowback. I did. That was a slip. I'm sorry. Virgil Hunter. My man Virgil Hunter, who's actually R&B singer Keisha Cole's dad. There's another one for the hip hop community.
That's right, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, no. Look, Durrell had a lot of talent. Great mover. Slick boxer, great to watch it earlier in his career, speed, movement, but after that Abraham defeat, everything's been just an enigma. And after the farce that was the last time, I think that the guy got his moment, Ustakazi got his moment and got the win justifiably because he was winning the last fight too. Durrell, I wouldn't like to see him back out again, man. But I don't know if that's going to be the end of him. I'd fear that he probably would maybe change trainers again if there's a payday out there and believe himself. Because I listened to him in that interview, and as hard as he was to understand, he actually thought he was coming on in that fight in the last one, and thought he was going to, you know what I mean, in the one before this, and thought he was going to come out on top. So he might just be deluded enough to get back in the ring, and I wouldn't like to see it, man, because I think the chap's going to get hurt. So.
Yep, I think there's a potential for Mr. Durrell to get hurt in the ring and out. We shall move on. I am going to call up our second guest very shortly. Bit of housekeeping, not going to talk about these two shows because we haven't got time, frankly. Avni Yildirim, Mr. Robot, my favourite, won the World Boxing Council International Super Middleweight title last night by defeating Derek Edwards over in Germany. And in South Africa, a fight that popped up on Box Nation, unbeknown to me, Kevin Lerena against Dimitri Kucher. And this was the IBO Cruiserweight title. Decent looking fighter, Lerena. I was quite impressed with him. Kucher, we sort of know what his abilities are. We shan't dwell too much on that. Where should we go next? Let's go over to the other fight that was taking place in New York, I think, and start with you, hater Dave Lowback. Sergei Kovalev against Igor Mikhalkin. Kovalev did what he wanted, really, put a bit of a beating on Mr. Mikhalkin. At the end, this poor fella, he resembled Vitaly Klitschko against Lennox Lewis, I thought, in looks and the way all that blood was pissing down his face.
Yeah, I was thinking this wasn't that bad of a fight, as bad as I was expecting it to be. Mikhalkin gave it a shot. He gave it his
former
best.
drugs cheat, apparently, Dave Mikhalkin.
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew that he was formerly an amateur pal of Kovalev's and that he'd beaten Beterbiev 3 out of 4 times in the amateurs. So he's not like a bum. He's like a decent fighter. Has had no big name so far, only Ortiz, and he took his O finally. Well, officially anyway. I think Brandon Gonzalez took his O for real, but it was not as good as the chief support with Bivol versus Barrera, which is a better fight, I think. And either of those guys against Kovalev would have been better than Mikhailovic or whatever his name is. To be fair, he showed heart. He stuck in there, taking huge bombs. No one wants to take anything like that from KRUSHER. I thought that the signs from Kovalev were fairly encouraging, to be honest. I didn't think he got hit that. Like the HBO was saying, oh, he's getting hit a lot here. He's getting hit clean. Oh, just imagine if Igor had power. I didn't think he was getting hit that much. I thought his defense was solid enough. I thought he looked reasonably confident. His stamina was better than we'd seen previously. So I thought this was a little bit more encouraging, actually, than his previous performance against Shabransky when he just got him out of there. And I think he got wobbled by a jab by Shabransky. I think he started the first 2 rounds off just unloading on him. Combinations just wouldn't let him breathe. And I think he realized he's not going to fold that easy, so he just decided to be a little bit more patient in the 3rd round. And I don't think it was because he was gassing. I think it was just because he was just adjusting his tactics. And it ultimately worked just fine. He won every round and kind of battered him into submission eventually. So I think it looked fine. I think he's still a top guy at 175, and I'm looking forward to the future. with him in it as well. I'd like to see him against pretty much anyone in the division. But that's one of the great reasons. I don't know where we are with that Sauerland tournament that he hinted at, but I heard that he'd hinted at it again this weekend, that he wanted to do his next Super Series at 175, which would be phenomenal because it's really heating up with these Russians coming up. But Turbiev hopefully becoming active again. I heard he just signed with Top Rank. You got Badu Jack just moved up, so I think it's a great division for a tournament, and I would like to see all of those guys fighting each other. And Adonis Stevenson iced as soon as possible.
Yeah, well,
that won't happen. That motherfucker won't sign the fight anymore.
Well, we'll wait and see. Just for some clarification, Gabe, just for some clarification on this Igor Mikhalkin thing. In 2016, after a European title fight, which I'm sure we all remember well, against Patrick Boyce in Paris, Mr. Mikhalkin was banned exactly for meldonium. So, and he was banned for a year. So there you go. Gabe, yes, feel free to jump in there.
I think the tournament's a great idea, but you're not going to get some of those big name fighters to sign in. They're not going to have I don't think they'll have the financial backing to do a big tournament. I mean, they might get a few, but I don't think they'll get all of them. And certainly Adonis Stevenson won't fight for whatever they're going to offer, I doubt. It would be nice to see it, but I'm just, spitballing off of Dave there. I just don't think it's going to happen. And if it did, it'll be lower level guys.
You're on mute, Steve. Steve, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I thought Gabe would talk for a bit longer. I was actually calling up our second guest of the evening. Actually, Rowan Date is on the call with us. Rowan, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Not too bad at all. We've just been talking about some of the action from the weekend. We've had Kovalev, we've had Wilder. Have you managed to see anything over the weekend, Rowan? Anything that stuck out for you?
Literally, I was watching last night the Irish prize fighter, and there's also the Jay Byrne and Craig O'Brien fight for the Irish title at super welterweight.
Yeah, that was the last man. That was the last man standing, wasn't it? What did you make of that tournament?
It was definitely exciting. Obviously, I know a lot of the lads from being on the team with them. So after that, it was just an interest, obviously, for me, and to see Rasheen be able to take it home after not being in the ring for so long, kind of made it very interesting, obviously emotional for himself.
Rowan, just looking at your own career, actually, you're 24 years of age, from Waterford in Ireland. You're actually based in the United Arab Emirates, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
You're out there at the moment. What's the story behind that, and what's your training setup?
So originally I came out here 3-4 years ago. I just was kind of fed up with the amateur background. I had quite a good amateur background, but then came over to Dubai. I was promised a lot, and unfortunately a lot of the things kind of fell through. And in my time, professional boxing was just kind of just started not even take off, but they were just having pro shows over here in Dubai. And I ended up getting on two of those. And then I got kind of interested from Ireland to come back and have a fight in Ireland. And it was kind of, because it was so hard to find training at the time, I was kind of half in and half out of it. When now we've kind of set up a new gym over here from the guy from Birmingham that owns the gym. I think he's quite friendly with Amir Khan and that. And they've just set up a new gym with, there's about 4 pros in the gym. Steph Anderson, who's with MTK, Danny Carr from Box Nation, and Waleed. Well, I'd have to check Waleed's second name. But 4 of us in there, boxing every day at the minute.
And you're from Waterford. You mentioned the amateurs there. What sort of names that we might know you fought as an amateur, both from Ireland or from England? Who did you go in with as an amateur?
Okay, fights-wise, but being a youth amateur, I'm trying to think who the English guy was. I've been in training camps over in GB, and I would have been with Sam Maxwell and Josh Taylor. I didn't fight them, but I was training with them as I was just kind of breaking into the senior team, the elite team for Ireland. On that side, I was boxing Ross Hickey at the time. I boxed a 2-time world champion from Ukraine. In the Europeans, who unfortunately I kind of lost out on a point, and it kind of happened in 3 European championships where I lost I think no more than a single point. One was a double countback for a medal at the Europeans.
And we're just looking at your professional record here. You're 4-0 with 3 knockouts. You've had 2 fights in Dubai and 2 fights in Ireland. A few people might have seen the video of your last win. It was a good win because I'd seen your opponent, Jade Karam, go in 6 rounds with Alfredo Melli, who's a very good fighter. And you blasted Karam out in the opening round. Tell us how that one finished and the sort of punches you landed to finish, Mr. Karam.
Yeah, so there was kind of 2 videos. One people kind of saw it from one angle and the other saw it from up close in the ring. And we kind of been just working on a lot of power and control and balance in training. At the moment, I've got a guy from London, Southeast London, Ben O'Connor. I think he's a big fan of these guys at Boxing Asylum.
Yeah.
He's coaching me now at the moment, and kind of he's the reason that I'm taking at this level at the moment. We've talked, I've never really had a full-time coach ever before, training me even through the amateurs and all the way now to my first 2 pro fights. I didn't have anyone coaching. I was hitting the bag for 6 rounds and then I got in and fought them 2 guys. So it was just a bit mental. And now that he's kind of sitting him down, we have the gym, we have a number of pros. I've really kind of started to settle into the pro game. And in the amateurs, I kind of seem to have very close lines and fine lines between wins and losses, but I actually knocked out quite a lot of boxers as an amateur. Probably one of the most notable would have been kind of Sean Duffy, a guy that ended up going from North Ireland to compete in the Commonwealth Games and got a bronze medal. That probably would be one of my best kind of knockouts as well, and jumping into the seniors and knocking out when I was 17, Niall Murray, another senior boxer for Ireland. I never really kind of noticed how much power I had kind of in my punches until I started really kind of looking at the pro game and started putting that approach into my training.
Just to remind our listeners, we have Rowan Date on the line. Am I pronouncing your surname right, Rowan?
Date, yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Rowan mentioned Ben O'Connor, big listener to the show, long-time listener to the show, so shout out to Ben for getting us in touch. Just final few questions, Rowan, and we do thank you for your time on this Sunday evening. Looking down the rankings in Ireland, the top 8 super welterweights, you've got the likes of Dennis Hogan, Craig O'Brien, who you mentioned, Bernard Rowe. Are you looking for an Irish title shot anytime soon, maybe going against one of these guys?
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually going down, my next fight is in 5 weeks. I'm going down to welterweight. When I was an amateur, I was 64 kg, and I've just kind of, because I was out of the ring 2-3 years ago as an amateur, I kind of boomed up to 69, but I could make back down to 66 quite easy. I made my last fight. I was actually 68 on the morning that I fought Jade Karam, and I just went for breakfast that morning, ended up being 69.6 or 7 or something like that. So I'm actually going down to welterweight, and I'm more looking at the Irish title at welterweight. There's a DUI title that's there as well, which kind of would be an 8-rounder. So I still haven't obviously gone 6 rounds or testing myself at 6 rounds. So I'm looking for another maybe 2, 3, 6 rounders before the summer. 3 fights is kind of the goal. I'm looking for another 3 this side of the year. And then November, December, hopefully there's going to be an Irish title back home.
That would be good. That would be a good thing. What's your long-term ambitions, Rowan, really, out the game? How far realistically do you think you can go?
I'm definitely looking at setting my sights right now for European level. I kind of looked, honestly, before in kind of the Irish game about 2-3 years ago, pro scene just wasn't a big thing. It was all about trying to get on trying to get to the Olympics, and I think that was my goal at the time. And obviously, in the UK, the pro scene is huge, and now the Irish is finally kind of catching up. So now I can really see myself now as a potential contender. At welterweight, definitely, I'm going to be quite big. And I could see myself going for a European stage. If not, I could even see myself coming over to UK. I was actually born in Manchester, so I actually would be a contender for the belts in UK as well.
So there's a chance you could maybe at some point apply for a licence and fight for like a British or Commonwealth, you think?
That's exactly it. That's what I'm kind of been looking at right now. I'm hoping now to get myself into a training camp either in the UK or the US this summer, maybe 2-3 months, and just plan on taking out and really going serious into it. I've never, me and Ben talk about the whole time how in the amateurs, I honestly would train for maybe 2-3 months, do a competition, and then maybe 2 or 3 months I'd take a break, and then go back and then join the elite team or join the senior team or Irish team without even a coach kind of keeping like progress over the years. But I really was kind of just get in there and fight kind of guy, and lost kind of by like split decisions and 1-pointers against guys that ended up going to the Olympics for Ireland. Michael O'Reilly would have been kind of one of the guys that obviously had an unfortunate in Rio, but he would have been a guy that I lost on 1 point. I wouldn't say Ross Hickey would have been another 5 times.
Yes, excellent fighter. Hickey was really good fighter.
I really thought I won the last fight with him, and it was just decisions like that that really kind of turned me away. Like there's a number of people that would have said that I would have won that fight. We could box off for the World Championships in Kazakhstan at the time. I honestly thought I won that fight quite easy. The first night I took off the head guard. The semi-final, that was where I knocked out the guy. I broke the guy's jaw actually with a punch, and then I had the final against Ross Hickey, and I really, still to this day, I think I really did win that fight. I really enjoyed having the head guard off. Enjoyed that. It was a real rough fight all the way to the end.
Just final question for me, Rowan, and we do thank you for your time. You fought in the United Arab Emirates. We always hear about fights going over to the likes of Dubai, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. You know, the money's there and these big fights and stuff, but it hasn't really materialised on a large scale. What's it like over there running shows? What's the organisation, the professionalism like to fight on a show over in the UAE?
I needed someone that has a little bit of experience, like literally club experience in the UK, to come over here and just set up the system, the amateur system, and that's kind of what we're doing with this new gym. Is obviously putting the kind of mark on an amateur gym, and have some sort of system in place, and then obviously then from there we can bring pro fights and pro events into Dubai. If you actually look at the caliber of the last show we had in Dubai, there was like one guy was going for an intercontinental title, a Russian guy, I'm not exactly sure of his first name, but he boxed Dio from our gym, Kenyan guy, 8 rounds intercontinental title. The guy even I had for if I get it right, one of the guys for my second fight ended up having a number of fights in the UK at the time. I just tried to find literally.
Is that Stephen O'Coin?
Stephen O'Coin, yeah. So he had pulled 8 rounds with a number of British fighters, about 2 or 3 British fighters, I think, at the time. Craig Watson and Michael Lomax, was it? Yeah, so I kind of was dominating him, and it's kind of that time seeing that he was dominate someone pulling kind of. I don't know too much about Michael Lomax now and Craig Watson. I need to start looking up on these profiles, but that's kind of where I'm looking at myself. I'm dominating a lot of these kind of journeymen that are pulling these letters to the distance.
Rowan, that's all from us. We'll let you get on with your evening. Is there any social media presence or anything people can follow you on?
Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm Rohan_Day, and you can find me on Facebook, which is Rohan Day, and you'll surely find me. Good
stuff. We'll watch your career with interest, Rowan. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. All the best. Bye. Rowan Date there, thanks for joining us. It's always good to look at these guys early on in their career. He mentioned a fighter there called Ross Hickey. Some people might not be familiar with him. I know Jonah O'Neill, who's jumped on the call, is. I remember Hickey fighting Phil Sutcliffe in the Irish seniors about, it must have been about 4 or 5 years ago now. Very, very good fighter, Hickey. Very talented, never turned pro. Not that you have to, just saying. Joe O'Neill's with us. We'll come to him very shortly on Last Man Standing. That took place on TG4 last night. Andy kindly sent out a link so we could all watch it. I had it on the telly. Andy, before we get involved with that, let's go on to the other scale of the fight game. And you want to say something about Mr. Kovalev, but not necessarily about the fight last night.
I think he's there to be taken now. I was just speaking to McKetchy actually on Twitter. You know, he said that in his opinion that Kovalev is still the man to beat at light heavyweight, you know, post-war. But I think it's just on paper only. I thought there last night. I mean, the fight last night, he was very workmanlike. You know, he did what he had to do. He broke the guy down. The guy's face was a mess. You know, bad cut and stuff. But you could see him at the end of that. It was only after 7 rounds. I think the fight stopped in. You could see him after the fight. He was blowing heavy. He was kind of like sucking in air, blowing it back out heavy, that sort of stuff. I don't know if he's still struggling to make the weight or if he's actually, you know, you know, how he claimed there's all these problems with his training camp and stuff. I know Jackson maybe done slightly the dirty on him a wee bit, but I just think he's maybe still doing the same bad habits. He's not making the weight properly. The gas tank's still a problem. He's brittle, man. I'm telling you. I've always been a big supporter of Kovalev, but I just think he's now there. Was he 34, 35? If we do get this big tournament made, it is going to cost money, as Gabe says. I think the money could be there, especially if you're going to get like the Saudis involved. I think it could be there. He could be tempted. At best, you know, he'll make a big payday, maybe 2 at best. But as I say, it likes the Bivol coming up there. We'll get on to him shortly. But I thought he was impressive last night. Beterbiev's out of the question at the minute. But I just think, you know, he's there to go. It's no a negative against him in any way, shape or form. As I say again, I'm a big supporter of the guy, but I just think there is still flaws there, and somebody's going to expose it again at some point.
I agree, Andy. I thought he looked a little bit clumsy at times. He got the jab working well, and maybe Mikhalkin showed him a little bit more movement than he was expecting, and he mentioned the fact he was a southpaw afterwards and all that type of stuff, so I suppose the jury is out. But yes, I would fear for Kovalev in certain fights, and maybe in a fight against the guy who was on the undercard, that Dimitri Bivol. It took me a while to get on the train, but I was really impressed with him last night. Could have been a styles make fights, could have been made to order, but Barrera's a big, tall dude, didn't throw his jab enough for my liking, didn't fancy the pair of Bivol, and what Bivol did wasn't necessarily groundbreaking stuff, but it was technically, strategically very, very good. He worked out what was working for him, the punches that were landing and what he could get Barrera with, Andy, and he was just landing them time and time again. The jab, he looks so small, Bivol, but he can't be as small as I think, because he kept on getting the jab home, he was getting the right hand home, the left hook, he was cut, didn't even phase him at all, didn't bother him. Nice experienced corner team as well, taking him through it. I was really impressed with what I saw last night.
Calm and composed, as you say, left jab, right hand, left hook. You know, it's basic fundamentals of the sport. He's got it kind of almost mastered. Didn't work the body though. That's the thing. I like to see him work the body a wee bit more. But on top of that, you know, I think the reason Barrera couldn't really get started is because that jab, as you say, it was landing home regularly. He was basically getting offset off that jab. He just couldn't really get it going. You know, when Bivol stepped in, he stepped in with bad intentions, you know, especially with the right hand behind it, finish off in the left hook from time to time. But the only flaw I could pick out of Bivol's performance there would be the lack of body work. Could have maybe stopped it earlier if he maybe invested a wee bit of work in there. But all round top performance.
Just before we bring the other guys in, tidy up a few more cards. Juan Manuel Lopez, he's still fighting everybody. Well, I don't know if he's fighting, but he's appearing in a ring with gloves and shorts on anyway. We know that much. He got knocked out in the 12th round by Jason Velez, somebody else who maybe shouldn't be fighting either. This was over in Puerto Rico. Anything goes over there in the Morales Coliseum. Joe O'Neill's on the call. How you sounding, Joe?
How's it doing, lads? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well. Joe's the assistant editor over at irishboxing.com, and you could see him alongside Johnny Stapleton, Gavin Casey, and a few other boys at ringside in the National Stadium last night. A good time was had by all at this last man standing tournament. We had Jack Cullen in the final against Roy Sheehan. Sheehan, obviously a very good amateur, Joe. He came through with only one fight, and he won the whole thing. What did you make of the tournament overall?
It actually exceeded our expectations by miles, because I know towards the end of the Prizefighter series, maybe it was the lineups they were putting up, but like they were a bit underwhelming. And even the Irish middleweights one back, I think, was 2011. Like there was some fairly, like, it was fairly drab, that one. But this was, from the very start of it, like JJ McDonough knocked Jared Healy out in the first round, like a huge shot that just sort of set the place alight, and everyone just went on from there. Like Owen Jarburn in the second fight with Chris Blaney, then that was a bit of a war. He was a real character. Then Sheehan himself in with Belushki, who was sparring Eubank. He put him down in the first. Like, the first 4 fights were brilliant. Nick Quigley, who was just probably the most come-forward fighter ever, just tried to walk Cullen down, and like Cullen actually, the first Cullen fight was really impressive, and then on to Blaney again. Like the shot he put Chris Blaney down heavy in the semi-finals in the second round. Like, there were surprising amount of knockouts and knockdowns in the tournament itself. Cullen got on, because it was the first fight on Irish terrestrial TV in 6 or 7 years. I think the last one. Were you at the last one in Castlebar, Henry Coyle, Steve?
I certainly was. Was that the one that was on irishtv.ie?
No, it was the one against Elio Conte for the WBF world title, where everyone got in the ring afterwards.
Yes, I was at that. Yes. Was that as long ago as that? The last one? Flip me.
Yeah, August 2011.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't realise it was as long ago as that. But I mean, the thing is about this, it's obviously drawn in the punter's interest because we're a long way past prize fights. Obviously, Matchroom don't run that anymore. We've got this Ultimate Boxer tournament that's coming up at the moment. Is this a format, do you think, that they're going to be running with? Maybe Red Corner will go again? Or, in fact, actually, let me ask you, Joe, about the prize money. I saw €25,000 being mentioned. Was that the split between everybody, or was that to the winner? Or how did the prize money work out?
It was actually a surprisingly large prize fund. The prize fund was 59 grand. The winner got 25 and then 5 grand for his amateur club. So Dom O'Rourke at St. Michael's at High is getting a nice little boost there for that club.
25 grand is huge for a guy fighting at that level, isn't it?
Yeah, he made his debut last month, about 3 or 4 weeks ago in the York Hall, just because the BOI needed him to get a fight under his belt. So it was very top loaded, which I know some people weren't too happy about, but obviously Roy Jean's delighted. I think the runner up got 5, where it used to be Matchroom used to be half and half, didn't it? It was like 32-16, and then the semi-finals got 8. Well, this was 25-5. The losing semi-finalists got 2 each, and the losing quarterfinalists got 1 each. And then, but there was also a knockout bonus too, so 1,000 for every knockout. So Sheehan goes away with 26, and the fastest knockout got 5. So JJ McDonough knocked Jared Healy out early in the first round, so he got 5 grand plus 1 grand for the knockout plus 2 grand for losing the semi-final. So it was a decent night for him too. It's actually you said the format is probably outdated on Sky, and you're probably right there. But the way they're doing it, which they did this in Sky as well, and it is probably the way to go forward, that they had the Irish title fight on afterwards. So you got to mix the championship and the one problem, but this was more just a broadcast issue. They were worried about time. They did the 7 last man standing fights in a row. So Cullen, literally from stepping out of the ring to stepping back into the ring, it was about 9.5 minutes for Cullen.
Yeah, it was too short for him, I thought.
Yeah, I know it was. But that was purely TG Cahir were afraid. They didn't want to do semi-finals in Irish title and then do the final and have it running over. But then they were getting such a good reaction or whatever, but they kept cameras on and they ran over about 25 minutes for the rest of the Irish title fight. So I'm assuming next time when they do it, they'll fix that. It was unfortunate for Cullen, but like Sheehan was just a different class to everyone. Like JJ McDonough, a lot of people were tipping him.
Oh, I was, yeah.
Just pure size as well, and Sheehan had his toughest fight was probably the first fight against Belushki, who's rough and tough, and he probably landed the most shots a note on Sheehan in the whole tournament. And we were wondering, like, to go from he hadn't boxed in 3 years, had 1 6 or 7 week camp, 1 4-rounder against a journeyman, and then he's gone straight into do 9 rounds. I know he stopped Cullen in the first round, but like he was sensational. Like he was. I remember seeing a little while ago Paddy Barnes saying that he was like always the most naturally talented on the team. He just got unlucky with hand breaks and just he never seemed to get that much momentum. Like I think he won EU gold at welterweight in 2007, and like was probably the person people in Irish boxing were tipping to probably go forward to Beijing, and he broke his hand and missed qualifiers and couldn't go. And then he was flitting in and out. He obviously he was getting on and out, so he was working. He went out for 2 years, came back, won an Irish title light heavyweight, out of shape with 3 weeks training. Like he's just a crazy talent, and now he's up with Stephen O'Rourke in Dublin training there now. And yes, he's saying himself like it was a bit of sort of smash and grab opportunism, get the 25 grand, but now like he has an Irish title fight probably lined up after this, and like he could do serious damage. Like maybe not world level, but like definitely domestic. Like I can't imagine any sort of English level just under British level. I can't imagine anyone wanting to go in with him. Like he's gonna, but thankfully with TG Cahir, they were very impressed with last night that he could become like the staple there. That the plan is now they're going to run forward, so they're going to do a last man standing in an Irish title fight on each card. So they're thinking the next one will be welterweight. It would be actually a good format for Rowan Date, just now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But have that, and then have it headlined by Roy Sheehan, who all the more casual fans will remember from the last one, and then he fights for the Irish title on that show.
So they are planning on doing another one. They were happy with, afterwards what went down.
Yeah. They like, and fair play to the promoters as well, because like they had an out there. If they like the TV and the weather in Ireland has been a lot worse than it has been in probably Britain, and like it badly affected attendance yesterday, and like even the fighters themselves trying to get over, because there were 3 English lads in it, and they were doing planes, trains, and automobiles trying to get over. I think they all got over on the ferry eventually. Had to go up to Stranraer, across to Belfast and down. But yeah, like it worked. Like people were sort of going in with, there was a bit of uncertainty going in. Like of the 8 fighters that were announced in January, 6 of them pulled out for various reasons.
Yeah, I was going to say it did sort of taint it slightly. I didn't in the end, but on paper it maybe did.
Yeah. On paper, and just people not sure. And 3 English lads as good in game and as impressive as they all were. Like it's sort of, for the Irish boxing fan, it might have been a bit harder to get excited about, warm about. But now, like with the first one out of the way, like I saw Bob Arum talk about how he like viewed the World Boxing Super Series with a bit of trepidation, and he didn't want to put Ramirez in. But now that he saw that the first one was such a resounding success, he's up for the second season. And I think it's going to be like that a lot with Irish boxers and Irish boxing fans, that seeing how well this went, that there's going to be a lot more uptake on it the next time around.
Joe, we're hearing you a bit distant there. I don't know whether Johnny's locked you in the cupboard or not, but just while you call out of the cupboard, let me just bring in rapping Rob Kelly, actually. Rob, I believe you wanted to talk about the TV broadcast, and I'm going to give a shout out to the TV broadcast. I call it TG4. I'm not going to attempt it. I'm sure you will. But Mr. Ronan Kosdelva, I think it was, is the producer over at TG4. I've spoken to it for an article in the past. Real nice guy, big boxing fan, and he wants to put boxing on the station, which is a plus.
Yeah, I mean, TG Carr, they picked up the Irish amateur finals a couple of years in a row as well. Like, but it's just, I just wanted to highlight one big pity really, that RTE is the main broadcaster here in Ireland, and then you got TV3, who's kind of like, would be like the ITV of Ireland, so they're kind of owned by the same parent company. And it's just a pity that like the sporting department in RTE notoriously sacks off boxing. Like the only time you'll ever see boxing on the telly is when we got fighters in the Olympics, and it's our biggest sport. Like it's our most successful sport in the Olympics, and it's a pity that guys like Andy Lee, Bernard Dunn actually did have a good run on RTE a couple of years ago. Like, but ever since then, it's been tough to get Irish fighters the exposure on RTE. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a joke really that they didn't pick up on what, because TG Carr, as good a job as they did, they tried to make it interesting. Like, but they're operating on such a smaller budget, being the Irish, the Irish language broadcaster, that they don't have the kind of same kind of power that RTE would have to put on a production there. Like, and you had Ray Moyle, they did everything right. Like they had Ray Moyle, they had Spike O'Sullivan, they had Eric Donovan, they had Ken Egan, who Eric Donovan's normally a lot better on TV. When I saw him, I thought he was a little bit all over the place last night. He sounded like he could be on this pod, but
he's welcome.
No, I'm joking. It's just a pity. It's just a pity that RT don't get. Ryan Nugent is the director of sport at RT, like, and he's rugby. So you might get on a Friday night, like you get the Irish under-21 rugby team playing in Italy when the national, the All Ireland finals are on at the same night and they're on TG4. You know what I mean? It's just a joke, and like it's kind of. You see guys like Andy Lee winning the world title in New York, the first Irishman to win a world title on US soil since 1934, and he comes home like, and he's a guest on the Late Late Show, but they're not making a big deal of him. You know what I mean? It's like it's if it's a regular thing. And kind of McGregor made himself in the MMA world, and then they're all over him. But he didn't get any support from RT in the early days either. You know what I mean? So it's just a real pity, because that could have been a lot bigger. And boxing is huge in Ireland. You know what I mean? To the guy in the street, like, but it just doesn't get the exposure that it deserves on the national station. Like,
what do you think about that, Joe?
I will say actually that, in fairness, RT, they have been fairly poor in the last couple of years, but there have been encouraging signs. Like they've lost Six Nations Rugby, which was a huge thing. That's on TV3 now. I think they've lost Champions League as well. I'm not sure on that, but like they came back for the seniors this year, and like you can just sort of get a bit of a feeling. Like Hugh Cahill on the main sports radio show always has Eric Donovan and Darren O'Neill in. They're very big on Eric Donovan there, and he's with Leonard Gunnan's Boxing Ireland Promotions. And Andy Lee is on Off the Ball now, that like boxing's becoming a lot more visible. And because they don't have this, because they've lost a lot of sports. I think that boxing could maybe perhaps this year, maybe next year, start coming back on RTE, especially if TV3, if it becomes a thing on TV3 and Air, the new Irish Sports Network, are linked in with BT and Box Nation, and they're showing a lot of boxing. So I'm hopeful that RTE will come back soon enough, because yeah, it has, like, since Bernard Dunn left, it's been pretty barren down south in terms of TV.
Yeah, and they were great nights too. Like the Bernard Dunn shows were great. You know, he's selling out the Point Depot and 9,000 tickets fighting the Kazakhstani guy one time. You know what I mean? So they were great shows. Like.
Yersin Gelyov, TBA. Remember that well. I think I was at that one. I can't remember. Anyway, Joe, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you very much. We will get you on again before the Frampton Don Air fight if you're available.
Yeah, and if I'm able to go to it.
Well, yeah, hopefully so. We shall. Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not going to bog you down in that. Hopefully everything will be resolved by then, yeah.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully so. Cheers, Joe. All the best.
Cheers, lads. See you.
Bye. Joe O'Neill there, assistant editor at irishboxing.com. Joe_90. Good guy, Joe. Works the beat. He's like me about 10 years ago before I become old and bitter and couldn't be bothered to do anything. Maybe that'll change. Hater Dave Lowback, who knows? Right, Dave, we're going to have to get through this shit because it's 20-10. We've got a load of Bellews. Brian King sent in about 100 on his own. And we've also got the previews for next week, plus a couple of questions to get on with. Right, Dave, we have Kovalev, Mikhalkin. Can't remember if you're giving your thoughts on that. We've got Bivol against Barrera, and we've got Brook against Rabchenko. What do you want to talk about, Dave? The floor is yours.
Well, I already discussed Kovalev a bit. I'm the only one here who seems to not think he looked like shit. I thought he looked good, or not be hate.
I never said he looked like shit.
No, you called me the hater, but you guys all hated on him.
I never hated him. I'm just saying that it was workmanlike. He had to do what he had to do, but he's not got the same snap. I still think he's still doing the same bad habits in training, maybe dumping too much weight. I just think he's ate it
I
bad,
will agree that his trainer and his corner seemed disorganized. They didn't even know where his mouthpiece was after one of the rounds. I don't know. It was a bit of a mess. I give credit to the broadcast team for mentioning the fight that was going on across the river from them in Brooklyn, being that Wilder had knocked out Ortiz. They announced that, even though it's a competitive relationship they have with Showtime. So it means it indicates that they're probably open to showing fights with Wilder involved in the future, you would hope. Didn't see Brook versus Rabchenko. I just saw the finish. But I did see a great deal of reaction from Brook fans, which I was surprised to see how many Brook fans still exist. They were all just really buying into that Eddie Hearn narrative, like, well, up until the injury, he was schooling Spence. And, the injury.
Get me started on that cunt.
Hard luck, mate. You'll be
up until my opponent broke my jaw, I was doing really well.
Yeah.
That prick, man, he just comes straight out with it, didn't he? What did I say before the fight started? What's Eddie Hearn going to say? Eddie Hearn Mingo, what's he going to say?
Which is hard luck, mate.
Oh, you could bet. And what did they say afterwards? You know, the 154 hasn't got a top name or a top contender, top fighter. It has now, Kell Brook. I'm like, there we fucking go. And he says that if he fought Spence at 154 and that, Brook would knock him out. This is the same Errol Spence that fucking fondled Floyd Mayweather in sparring, by the way. And let me tell you something, these stories didn't come out of his gyms about people getting schooled or knocked down or knocked out in sparring unless it's no fucking true.
And there was photographic evidence of Floyd having a black eye. I think it was before the Berto fight, or maybe it was before one of the Maidana fights when Spence had been sparring with him. And this was around the same time that the rumors were coming out that he'd iced Broner as well. But yeah, I mean, Rabchenko, you beat Rabchenko. This is a guy who lost to Anthony Mundine, who got schooled easily and stopped by Tony Harrison. I mean, you beat Rabchenko, and all of a sudden, well, Kell's back and better than ever. It's just ridiculous.
Oh, Dave's on form, man. I'm telling you, everything he said there is this absolutely true. Eddie Hearn is an absolute cockmuncher. The pish that he speaks.
Come on, Oddie. Oddie? I always call you. Sorry, Ozzy.
No, it's all right. Well, one thing I picked up on, he said, 154 doesn't have that big name, or there's no well-known names. Well, why the fuck is he going to pick Danny Jacobs' next opponent from that weight division? That's exactly what he's done. So there's no big names yet. He's gone and dipped into the 154 division to go and bring up against Danny Jacobs, who he has the cheat to say he's the best middleweight in the world. That's one point. And then on the Brook thing, yeah, he showed nothing last night that we didn't know about him before. Rabchenko looked short. He got caught square on a number of times. I thought one thing I would say is that Brook looked miles better at the weight. The fact that he didn't have to take off £7 made a hell of a difference, and I do think he will pose problems at that weight. I'm just concerned about whether those eyes can hold up, because the two brutal injuries, those, and obviously the levels he steps up now, he's gonna get hit back, and I mean, like I said, we didn't learn anything from last night, and I mean, where do you put him next? Really, they're going to be very careful here. I mean, they're talking about the Charlo, aren't they? And I mean, that surprises me completely that they're going down that route, because he's the silver champion now, isn't he, with the WBC, which kind of propels you towards the top end of the rankings pretty much straight away.
They're not going to say Lara anyway. Tell you that much.
Yeah, to say something, by the way. See, Jarrett Hurd, he fondles Kell Brook, and know the way Kell Brook likes to be fondled, by the way.
I think any of Heyman's guys at 154 beat him. I think even Trout probably.
Well, this is the thing, Dave. I took issue with this, like this press release on Friday, and all this narrative that they're pushing forward. Oh, he's going to dominate the super welterweight division. I know it's bullshit and all that, but dominate. Let's be serious. Let's look at this word, dominate. To dominate, he's going to beat the likes of what? Hurd, Charlo. You even mentioned Trout, Lara. You've even got fringe level guys like Charles Hatley, Julian Williams. He's going to beat like what, 3 or 4 of those names, is he? Is he even going to fight 3 or 4 of those names? Dominate Aussie? No.
No chance. But this is Eddie Hearn, and I don't know why we're shocked about it, because the guy is a salesman, and what he says ultimately goes according to a lot of the general public, and it pisses me off, but a lot of people are starting to see through this. They can bang on about how good a fight this was with Rabchenko and Risky. There's about 3,500 people there last night, which for me says it all. That the fight wasn't as well received as what he made it out to be. The fucking Cowboys, they did a video of a full house. All the top tiers were closed. Some of one of the stands, like the bottom end of the stands, was closed as well, and they shoved everyone in to make it a lot of fun. They gave a lot of tickets away as well last night as well. So for all these Cowboys who say Hearn's events sell out, no, they don't. There's a lot more to life than what Eddie Hearn says. Exactly what Deontay Wilder says as well. A lot of Brits think is what Eddie Hearn says goes. It's bullshit. And the fact now he's saying that, he's done exactly the same as what he said with Brook at 147. He's the best welterweight in the world. He stepped up. He got laid out by Errol Spence. He's now the best 154 because he beat Rabchenko. He had one fight in 2017. It was against some pudding back in Belarus or something like that. Comes over here, gets a few quid, gets twatted in 2 rounds, and that's it. Curtains for him. He's an utter salesman, and he's good at what he does because he makes people believe him and things like that. But for me, as soon as we see Brook step up to one of the bigger names at 154, it's I think it'll be lights out and probably the end of Kell Brook's career.
Brook was voted #1 Ring Magazine welterweight in the world, right? Eddie Hearn's all over the top of that shit. He ducked that entire division until that IBF mandatory was basically called and basically forced upon him. His whole career's been absolute fucking shit.
Awful. Absolutely appalling. I think when he left Frank Warren, he was #1 with the WBO, so that was I'm sure he was mandatory for Pacquiao, and they soon shirted off from that and then went a different route and took a lot of different fights and things like that. I feel for Brook because he has got ability and he is talented, but his career both with Frank and Eddie of boxing pretty much garbage. I mean, his IBF reign was awful. Absolutely awful. Like Jojo Dan and Kevin Bizier, fuck me, that just shite, just utter rubbish. And you will get found out. You box things like this, you will get found out. It showed last night with Gamal Yafai. Kudos, he made the step up. But you look at his career, bar, I think, 2 or 3 British title fights or something like that. The rest is utter rubbish. And Gavin McDonnell said it in his post-fight interview last night. What helped him through that fight was the fact that he's had the tough fights at British level on the smaller cards and things like that. Yes, he's boxed the fair share of journeyman. What pro hasn't? But the fact is, he's put the hours, he's put the time in the ring. He's boxed for British titles. He's gone the traditional route, central area. I think English, British, European, boxed for a world title. He's had a good career, and ultimately he stepped in with Gamal Yafai last night, who was levels below, and McDonnell showed his ability. And I think you've got to give credit to Dave Caldwell for that. I'm not his biggest fan, but he's made he's done a real good job with Gavin McDonnell, who ultimately was absolutely nothing. I saw a story about it. I read this morning that I think it was after Jamie McDonnell. I'm sure it was when he won a world title, and they were sat in the bar, and Gavin McDonnell said, I'll give this a go. I think he'd had like 4 amateur fights and stuff like that, and they took the piss out of him, and he said, no, if our Jamie can do it, I'm going to do it. And fair fucks to him, because with limited experience, and he can't crack an egg, which if he could, he would have got rid of Yafai last night. He's had a real good career. So, and I think he was put in there last night to lose. I think they wanted Yafai to win, and ultimately it's backfired 100%. So that's my fault. Dave Allen, well, what can I say about Dave Allen? We're going to see probably there's going to be calls to see Allen Thomas 3, and what an awful trilogy that is. The first fight was utter shite. The second one ended on a cut.
Could it have continued? I was only watching in the background because flicking between a load of channels.
Yeah, I thought it was a poor decision, because whilst it looked a relatively bad cut, I didn't think there was any blood like pouring into the eye or anything like that. I think it was like 15 seconds left of the round, so at least give them time. But, like with the recent tragedies and things like that, whilst the cut may not, like lead to something really serious, it could potentially cause, like some damage now. But again, that fight I have no care about seeing. For me, Dave Allen, he was the biggest ticket seller on the show last night, which for me says it all about Kell Brook. Like Dave Allen, who has ultimately got into this position by a Twitter profile, he's sold the most tickets out of the lot. He outsold Kell Brook, who's a former world champion in his own. It says it all, and it wasn't by like 3 or 4 tickets as well. It was by about 100 tickets.
And there you go. Dead on. There you go. There's the biggest star in the 154-pound division getting outsold by Dave Allen. No shots at Dave Allen, you know what I mean?
But it's unfortunate that
his banner.
His fans are going to be pissed. I mean, after that, he ends in the first round on a headbutt. I mean,
Hearn's laughing though. Hearn's laughing because he'll do it again, because he knows people will get behind Dave Allen because of this Operation White Rhino. And as much as Allen, fair enough, he goes in, he's got into this position, and it's not like his fault in a roundabout way, and he's done well for his limited ability to get there when ultimately he doesn't really deserve it. But then, did you see the pair of shoes he wore in the ring last night?
Yeah, and the shorts.
19 quid Carrymores. I'm thinking, what is it? He's like a laughing stock. I don't understand it. I just don't get it. Like the day before the fight, he's arguing with people on social media. Fuck the phone off. You talk about how this is your biggest opportunity in your career against a guy you've already lost to. You've got an undeserved rematch completely. You lost the fight. You were out of shape, but basically they had no other way to go, so they brought him back over. And he can't stay off his phone and things like that. And then he goes into the ring in a pair of fucking Carrymores.
What was more embarrassing, his Carrymores or Aussie, or Lenroy Thomas's tits?
The Carrymores, 100%. The amount of old bids you see wearing them is a farce. But in that first round as well, I mean, it sounds silly, but I saw nothing from Allen that I thought, he's going to pose any problems. I thought Thomas landed the better shots, and then obviously bang, clash of heads, and that was it, game over. I would have liked to have seen them leave it for a little bit and potentially work on it, because the cut, like I said, it wasn't bleeding, and they may have been able to work on it, and it posed no problems whatsoever. But no, all in all, I was impressed with Atif Shafiq, because last time I saw him, he got laid out by some German kid on a show at Preston Guildhall about 12 months ago. But he absolutely battered Lee Appleyard. I thought he looked quite good, actually. Rocky Fielding, a nothing fight for him. And obviously the news came out that they're close to finalising a fight with Ramirez for the world title, which, again, it's another undeserved shot. Like Fielding, but again, it's another person at super middleweight who's going to box for a world title before Callum Smith. Bear in mind, Callum Smith beat Rocky Fielding as well. And Fielding's going to get a shot before him.
In a round?
In a round.
I think Callum Smith could have had a shot long, long ago.
You're very cynical, Dave. Hey, Dave, what about Lenroy Thomas, Dave Allen? This could be the best heavyweight trilogy since Holyfield Ruiz graced our screens.
I haven't seen either of those fights, but I will say that take note that Dave Allen's stock, money-making potential, and ticket sales went up, skyrocketed, in fact, after he appeared on the Nuthouse podcast.
Okay, can I just say, Steve, I know we're laughing at Rocky Fielding getting a potential world title shot here, but Top Rank need to get some shit for this as well. You know, how they've been matchmaking Zurdo, and he's also not back joining that the Boxing Super Series. You know, so his career needs to get a fucking bit of a shake-up as well. But
he's not very good, is he? I'm sure they know that. Like they can see that as well as we can see it. They've got eyes.
Rocky Fielding has improved that he's better than British level. You know, he's the biggest fight in Britain for him. He got iced in, what was it, a minute? Nah.
Yeah. But this is my gripe as well with it now, is that basically these people getting undeserved world title shots and they fall short. Brian Rowe's got one as well. Now, I think fair enough, he may have worked his way into some sort of like mandatory shot, but he went over against Andrade and just got battered. It was one-sided crap. And like, it's not as if, you know, like they get a shot, you know, about being like last minute or something like that, and you think, right, I've got 4 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. The shots come about, let's take it. If I lose, I'm nothing. You know, like it was a shot there, and like they're looking at this as a defense. But like I say, like I'd rather Fielding go away and go and get 2 wins at, you know, like a European level, and then step up, because at least he can say then that he's boxed off like the European scene. And then it's time to move on. Like, was he matched to go in with Scotland?
He was supposed to be fighting Scotland, wasn't he?
So, like, why have they gone from basically going from Scotland? I understand that he obviously had that injury, but then they've gone from basically not looking to, you know, to replace the Scotland fight with a similar level opponent. Instead, they got him a tick-over fight with Jamie Moore in the corner. And now they're looking at a world title shot. I don't understand it. And I think a lot of fighters ultimately, as much as I box for a world title, if you hold your horses and go and do 12 months extra, go and get the fights under your belt, then you don't fall short, and then there's a chance you'll win it. I can't see Fielding posing any problems to Ramirez. But again, it's just another garbage from Ramirez's side. It's a poor defense. And Aram's talking about, oh yeah, I'll sling him in with if they do another World Boxing Super Series at 168. I don't think there'll be any touches like Rocky Fielding in there. That's saying Jamie Cox got in, didn't he? So says it all.
Joining us on the call now, unexpected guest, head of the Boxing Asylum Technical Department, Ben Faruqi. Ben, are you Team Rabchenko? What's annoying you tonight?
Yeah, I'm Team Rabchenko. No, yeah, just a bit annoyed with the way Matchroom sort of put things forward with Kell Brook, and it's consistent. And I just thought, just thinking about the Charlo thing, like I mentioned to you guys in the chat, that only came up recently. Before that, it was the consistent, calm talk. And I think that fight will happen. I don't think it'll happen this year, but I think the Charlo talk is kind of like before, when they were trying to make the calm fight, but they'd always throw in names like Cotto and, well, if we might fight Pacquiao instead of you, Amir. You know, those sorts of things. And I think that's what Eddie's trying to do again, perhaps now. He'll talk about Charlo until the cows come home, but he'll never really try to make that fight because he knows what will happen to Kell. I think what he might do is wait for Liam Smith to go and fight Saddam Ali and then just try and get the winner of that. And to be honest with you, win or lose for Kell in that fight, whether he beats the winner of Smith and Ali, it doesn't really matter because he's got Amir. But he could also try and use that belt if Kell does win it. And there's a chance Kell could beat the winner of that fight. you know, he can use that then as a bargaining chip for Amir to make sure the fight is all in sort of Kell's favour. And while they both are on the same stable, my opinion is personally that Eddie's going to favour Kell. Well, you could even argue Eddie's going to favour whoever's going to make him the most money. But I would think that he would favour Kell, and he's still going to try and get everything in Kell's favour for that fight. So really, it was just you know, that sort of thing that we noticed. And if you get the Matchroom press releases, like I said to you guys, you can literally hear all the talking points repeated continuously by everyone on Team Sky, and then they bring them up at the end, sort of the fight as well. So they throw Amir in there, but they try and get the sort of Charlo thing on there, which, like I said, is complete nonsense. They're not going to go for that at all. It's just
they're getting like narrative print-offs, basically, all to go, you know, the same thing.
Yeah, that's it. And you know, the whole Rabchenko, the press releases we got the week before the fight, where Rabchenko's a real threat. Kell Brook said that about 1 million times in the lead up to this fight. But they also mentioned that he was a sparring partner, a past sparring partner of Kell, so they knew what Rabchenko was bringing to the table. They knew where he was at. They knew he wasn't a threat at all. And like Ozzy said, we've not seen anything that we didn't already know about Brook. We don't know anything new about Brook here, or how he will really be at 154. And I think anything else they say is just a charade, and to sort of build up the Khan fight as best they can. Try and get as much on the table as they can for Kell, because Amir's not going to probably take the fight unless, you know, the money's right, because there are other options on the table for him. Whereas for Kell, financially, what are the real options? Go in and get beaten by someone like Charlo or Lara or whoever they're going to throw him in with. At 154, financially, there's not much there for him. Khan is the fight, and you know, that's all he's ever going to talk about, because he knows that's where his payday is. Well, for Amir, you know, like when he first signed with Matchroom, I don't know if anyone noticed, but they mentioned that Conks and Pacquiao had been in touch with them before, and I know that had been negotiated for potentially being one of the fights. But that's happened so many times now, and it's never come off for various reasons. Eddie wants to make the Broner fight, and with Amir, I think these are more possible fights. Whether Amir wins or loses those fights, there's still more possible, better possibilities than whatever Kell's got. So they really have to try and push it to make it, you know, sound like Kell's got something that Amir needs, in a way. Well, that's it, really.
Ben, I know you can't stay for too long. Just before you jump off the call, on the undercard last night, Kid Galahad was fighting at featherweight. He was bemoaning the fact that he hasn't had a world title shot yet. You know, he's got a point. He's 23-0, clean-cut kid out of the ring, real nice style, good talker as well. And he's beat, I mean, how many more, you know, championship-level contenders does this kid have to beat before he gets a shot? It's just not fair, this game.
I think we all know why he's not got a world title shot yet. To be honest with you, I didn't catch his fight. I was on daddy duty because I didn't go to Sheffield like I was meant to, because of the snow and the trains and whatnot. So I was on daddy duty and I missed his fight. By the time I switched it back on, his Berry was lying in the corner getting medical attention, so I missed his fight. I still haven't caught up with it, to be honest with you. But tell you who I did catch, who I was quite impressed with, was Shafiq, Chief Shafiq. I think he did better than most people expected yesterday. You know, his punching was quite clever, and I don't think many people thought he would take Appleyard out, but he did well yesterday. So I'll just give him a bit of a shout out. I thought he did well.
Lovely job. You're always welcome, Ben. Thanks for jumping on.
No problem. Speak to you soon, guys.
Cheers. All the best. Ben Faruqi there, Boxing News TV as well. Go over and look at the videos on YouTube, and there's lots of articles on the website as well. Done a bit for them myself in the past. Moving on, Mohammed Mia was in touch with me. He said, "What's your thoughts on the standard of commentary in boxing today? I personally believe," says Mohammed, it has declined with Sky and BT Box Nation not much better. Do you think that commentary can ruin fights for viewers? Well, I know we've gone on about the old Reg Gutteridge days in the past. I don't really want to rehash that. But one thing I will say is I'm not trolling here or trying to, come up with an agenda or anything, but I genuinely struggle to listen to Sky commentary. You see, whenever I turn it on and I hear like Bellew or Paul Smith or somebody, I audibly go, oh God, I don't know if I can listen to this. And I find myself muting it for long periods, and Adam Smith coming off with the same things over and over again. And I find it a real struggle, Ozzy, to listen to the commentary on Sky in particular. Box Nation, not so bad.
It's difficult because they're so one-sided and they're blinded by the fact that basically, unless it's blatantly obvious, the home fighter can't do any bad. Now, I do like Matthew Macklin. I think he's good. I think he reads a fight really well. I actually think sometimes when Froch isn't trying to be biased, he makes some really good points. But half the time he is just trying to be one-sided to Sky, so he makes himself look stupid if anything. I like the lead commentator for Sky at the moment, Andy Clark. Now, I think that's his name. Now, when he first came on the scene, he was even better because he basically just called it as it is. Anyway, it looks like Adam Smith gave him a slap on the wrist and said, look, basically, don't be as much as that. But I like the way he beat, no matter what, whether they box for Cyclone, Box Nation or anything like that. He always refers to other people in the division because it gives the people who maybe are tuning in for like the first, second or third time an understanding of the division and the boxing scene in general, and that there is more to like weight divisions and boxing as a sport than what they're seeing on Sky at the moment.
Yeah, Sky Boxing isn't taking place in a vacuum, like.
Exactly, yeah, but sometimes you would watch it and you would think completely otherwise. That I remember when Ringside used to be on, like, depending on what weight division it was, they just removed certain fighters from rankings because, they weren't boxing on Sky, and it was a joke, and you'd watch it and you'd think, like, what is going on here? Like, what's the point? Like, what is the point? And in terms of Box Nation, I think Box Nation's commentary, when it's their own shows, so whether it's like, one of the smaller halls in, say, like at the Brentwood Centre or something like that, is very good because they call it as it is. And if one of their lads is losing, they'll happily say that. Now BT have come involved, I think John Rawling, in particular, is more pro the home fighter. Again, unless it's blatantly obvious. I like Barry Jones, and I think that's one of the best bits of business Frank Warren's ever done, is get Barry Jones involved because I think he's excellent. I think he took a while to get going into it, as you would. He's never done it before, but I really like him now, and I think it's good that BT are giving him that opportunity because he made his name on Box Nation when BT weren't there, and then just to sack him off like they did to bring in Richie Woodall, who you can do a bingo card with him now. He seems to take in everybody on the pads and things like that. It was good that Barry Jones did the York Hall show, and I hope to see him again because I think him and Rolling bounce off well. Who was on the Channel 5 stuff last night? I missed that. I watched it on mute while I was watching something else.
I can't remember, but Paul Dempsey did the presenting. Dempsey's quite funny because I'm sure you remember him like I do. He backed in Sky in the day, and he was a good straight talker, good presenter. Then he went off to Satanta. Obviously, things didn't work out, and he's sort of building his way back. But the way he praises Josh Taylor and talks about boxing now, he's like someone who's had a head injury and is trying to remember things that he knew from a past life.
But at the same time, though, I like it because he just calls it as he sees it. And I've got a lot of people. That's all you want. I don't think people will pick on you, if you made the odd error or you misread a fight or something like that. But if you call it the way you see it and you're honest and things like that, like Bellew comes up with so much shit and things like that. But sometimes, like say 12 months ago, again, I rated him as a pundit because he just called it as it was, and he'd call a spade and stuff like that. But again, I mean, he comes out with so much crap and like comparisons and things like that. Particularly when one that stands out for me was the Conor Ben Cedric Payno fight. Now, it was when Ben got dropped for the second time and he clearly got clipped on the chin. And both the commentators went, that was never a knockdown, he slipped. And then they watched it back and then they thought, hang on, it was blatantly a knockdown, but they just completely carried on. Well, it was a bit of a dodgy one for me. He was slipping already.
Yeah, it's like they've got the narrative and they want to stick to it. It was like
Yeah.
Chamberlain and Sakoli. I didn't like Bellew because he set his cards on the table and he wasn't for turning, especially when David Hay said the opposite side of the argument, which to me was what was going on in the fight. Bellew just would not turn at all.
And that's what you want to see. That's what you want. That's what the commentator's there for in a roundabout way. Is that they pick up on things. One person who's excellent is Paulie Malignaggi, because he picks things up and I think, fucking hell, you don't even see that. And he breaks down the fight.
Very
really,
good,
really
yeah.
well.
Very good.
Oh, he's excellent, and I like him, and I think Sky should use him more when like there's a bit more interest in the shows and things like that. But one person who I did enjoy and like he was a bit different was Naz a couple of weeks ago. I thought it was a breath of fresh air. Funny at times and a bit maybe too much, but like he just said it. He just said his opinion, and I think that's what people enjoyed, more than anything. And Duke as well was excellent. I've always enjoyed him. I think he comes across with really good points, and I thought he was good as well. And that's all you want from these commentators or co-commentators is just a fair opinion. When you go bias and things like that, you just lose respect for them. You think, why should we listen to you? You just back up your who you work for. If you call it as you see it and you're fair, I think you'll get a lot more respect from people, and that's when people will listen to you, respect your opinion, and enjoy the fights more. Now the commentary's going downhill and it's so biased and one-sided, it ruins it, and you often watch things on mute just so you can get a fair understanding of it. Because as much as you may not be swayed, when someone's persistently saying this is good, and mention of the other guy, I think sometimes it does naturally sway an opinion.
Yep, Duke's definitely improved from the old BBC days when he called someone a world-class container. Not that I want to get too bogged down in this, Andy. I know you have a point to make. On Johnny Nelson, I liked his little rant, and then Adam Smith was like, shooting from the hip, Johnny. This is Johnny, who Smith had just called him out on his bullshit scorecard, basically, and said that he had Uskatagi way ahead. And, Johnny, I don't really know what you were scoring. And this was Johnny who was saying that Durrell was doing really well in the fight. He was getting the jab going. He was coming into it. And then all of a sudden he goes off on this quit rant, and he's shooting from the hip. I think there was a bit of inconsistency there. You want to say something about one of the greats, Andy, Mr. Gutteridge?
Yeah, but I was glad you didn't ask me about Johnny Nelson, because I actually muted Sky last night. But Reggie, I mean, obviously because of the weather and stuff like that, I can't get out of the house for I couldn't get out of the house for 2 or 3 days to fucking shovel it over. Anyways, so being off and that, I had a chance to look at some old fights and that. I watched Howard Winston against Vicente Saldivar. 3 fights, 2 of the fights had Reg doing the commentary. The other fight would be Ali against Rudy Lubers. Remember when Reggie was actually interviewing Ali between rounds in that fight? Obviously, we're not that old, gentlemen, but, you've probably seen the videos and stuff like that. But I just keep saying again, I don't know if it's because, a different generation, that he was an amateur boxer, he lost his leg in the war or whatever it is, maybe a different background. I really don't know, but it's great watching fights when you've got guys who say much information. They just don't say nothing, or maybe speak for like a minute each round or whatever, and it's complete silence. Any idea how therapeutic it is to actually watch 2 guys fighting just with the noise of the crowd in the background? It's fucking tremendous. These cunts just want to talk for just the sake of talking. And I agree with what Ozzy was saying there actually about Andy Clark. I used to watch a lot of the Scandinavian shows when I used to get access to this website, right? And Andy Clark used to do a lot of the Swedish shows, Danish shows and stuff like that, and he was really on the ball. And I remember what Ozzy was mentioning. I forget what card it was when he made his debut on it, but he was really kind of, blunt and honest to the point, really. And you notice it suddenly changed over the next 2 or 3 appearances, and then didn't appear for a wee bit, and they came back in a kind of full-time capacity and stuff like that. It's just like it's just company jobs. And I just wish we'd get guys who just call it as they see it, like guys like Naz, who emotionally unstable a wee bit. I will say that, but just call it as you see it. They don't need to kiss ass all the time. Just fucking put it this way. Eubank Groves, look how heavy Adam Smith and Johnny Nelson went into on Chris Eubank's lack of boxing fundamentals. Now, if Eubank was with Eddie Hearn and Sky, I think they begin these interviews on YouTube and stuff like that.
Interesting. What do you think they would have said about that? Yeah.
Oh, what his box office. He's like his dad. He's tough. He's athletic. All this sort of shit. They mentioned about the fact he can't fucking box. He can just throw like a million punches in 10 seconds on a fucking heavy bag. It's just pish.
It proved it last night with Kid Galahad. Sorry, Steve. Proved it last night. they were like, well, why has he not had a world title shot? Because he was fucking banned for PEDs. But there was absolutely zero mention of it. Well, why did he have a year out? What's he going? Just sat in a chair twiddling his thumbs? No, because he had a ban for taking banned substances, and there was zero mention of it as well. It's a joke, absolute joke.
That is unfair, Ozzy. That is unfair. Everybody knows that his brother wrote a handwritten note to say fight.
Yes, talking about substances, Dave has reminded me about this Lewis Neri Shinzuki Yamanaka fight I had completely neglected to mention.
Bastard.
So just before you have your say, Andy, what do you want to say about it, Dave? Neri came in so heavy, he was like going off into a different weight class and then some.
Cunt. I can't wait to see this little fucker iced. First he fails a drug test, then he misses weight. I mean, is he ever going to get a win that isn't tainted miserably, like a meaningful win? I don't think so. And all the good things I said about him after he beat Yamanaka the first time, like he's entertaining and stuff. Well, entertaining will get you knocked the fuck out. So I can't wait for that to happen.
Anybody else want to say something quickly on that before we move on to the previews for next week?
No, just what Dave was saying, he's now claiming he's wanting another world title fight. If he'd actually was moved up in weight and actually weighed in, he would have still missed weight. It's just an absolute disgrace. It's clear why he missed weight, because he wasn't on the PEDs this time. But I'd say Yamanaka was, it was the signs were there. He was getting dropped early, later on in his kind of career and stuff like that. But it was sad to see him go out like that. But he took the fight. He could have called off like Wilder did against Povetkin, for example. But like a true Japanese warrior, he just went ahead and done his best, but got iced. But I agree with Dave. I need to see this guy in with another legit body now, and hopefully he gets an absolute doing for the shit that he's been pulling here. That was unprofessional. 6 pounds overweight. That is fucking disgraceful.
It is bad. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Like a fight that has been postponed, and it is actually on next week. Rob, we'll go to you on this one. The Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Texas. Gabe Lewis may be in attendance. We don't know. Sergei Lipinets is putting his IBF title on the line against Mikey Garcia. Rancis Bartholomew is going in for the vacant World Boxing Association title against Kill Relic. We've got Richard Comey on the card, Mario Barros, an undefeated prospect, Brandon Figueroa, another undefeated prospect. What about Lipinets against Garcia, Rob? How do you see that one going?
Well, I said a few months ago I didn't want to see Liptits against Mikey Garcia because I couldn't even pronounce his name. No, look, I've been a big Mikey Garcia fan. I think when he's on the job, he's one of the best to watch. Like, his fundamentals are excellent, straight punches, crisp punches, accurate. Looks like he could take a shot too. Andy, I know, has been a bit harsh on him recently. That dog's doing my fucking nut in. Andy's been a bit harsh on him, I think, lately. We're not harsh on him, but he's been a bit critical of him lately, and I'd agree kind of to a degree with that. My thoughts on it were with Andrew Ward and Mikey Garcia at that time when they were sitting out their contracts, that they viewed themselves as kind of the top pound-for-pound guys behind Floyd, and as such, they wanted to get paid. But Mikey, since he's come back, he's talking a good game. But we haven't really seen him in with anybody. Obviously, he had the big knockout of the Zlatacan, but we haven't seen him. And he had a kind of convincing win over Broner when Broner didn't let his hands go at 147. But we want to see him in now. Look, you had your 12 months out, or your 18 months out, or whatever it is. Get the big fights made now. You're one of the best in the sport. I don't want to see him against Lipinets. You know what I mean? I don't want to see that fight. I want to see him calling out Lomachenko. I want to see him calling out and going through with it. I want to see him calling out Lomachenko and going through with it. I want to see him calling out what's my man's name at lightweight that I love, Linares, and get those fights made. What are we seeing from this? I know he's talking about he go up and fight Spence, or he go up and fight Crawford. Come on, just let's get the fights made. And earlier in his career, when he was beating up Salido, when he was beating up Wanma, he looked absolutely sensational. So from that point of view, I'm always happy to watch him fight. I think he's technically brilliant, and had potential to be one of the big breakout stars of the sport. But his career's gone a little bit, I don't know, gone a bit to the left, hasn't it?
Has gone to the left. We're not going to get into it tonight, obviously, but going his own route, Mikey Garcia, we don't really know what he's doing. I can't for the life of me remember who we had on the pod recently, and they said don't write off Lipinets, and because the person who we were talking to had sparred him and said he was a decent fighter. I can't remember who that was. Anyway, Dave, we'll try and remember, I suppose. Garcia against Lipinets. Do you give Lipinets any chance? He had a bit of an injury. A few people were suggesting he maybe didn't fancy it, but it's been rescheduled. He's getting in the ring next week, so far as we know. I don't think he's going to get stopped, but I don't see him beating Garcia.
I don't really care too much about this. Yeah, I'm very much in agreement with Rob. I think Mikey Garcia is better than this fight, and I think we should be seeing him make the most of his career while the iron's hot. We don't want to see him do what Darrell did and wait it out. But if he does, that's on him. Lomachenko is the fight to make. Linares is the fight to make. But even those guys aren't fighting when there's a perfect opportunity for them to fight right now. And apparently they both want it, but we're not getting them. We're not getting Mikey Garcia versus Crawford or anyone, even a big name like Lipinets. I don't know. I hope it just I hope Lipinets beats him, actually, because then that way we would have a new name to look forward to. Maybe somebody who would actually be active and take chances. But I don't expect that. I expect Mikey Garcia to stop him. I do expect him to get stopped.
Thanks, Dave. We'll come back to you on that prediction next week. Also on the same night, over in the StubHub Centre, the scene of so many great fights, Aussie, we've got Oscar Valdez and Scott Quigg going toe-to-toe. Valdez's WBO title is on the line. Really impressed with Valdez on the way up, but excuse me, he seems to be lacking a bit of variety. He's a bit of a headhunter at the moment. He likes the thought of his own peril, I think, and it's going to be an exciting fight. I think Quigg will give him a decent scrap, and I think he'll go to the wire between the two of them. I actually do expect Quigg to do quite well. On the undercard, real tasty fight this. Andy Vences, 20-0 against 17-0 Eric De Leon. And this is a strange one. Nobody else might care about this, but Andy Ruiz Jr. is going in against Devin Vargas, 20-4, 37 years of age. I remember Devin Vargas representing the United States in the 96 Olympics, I think it was. I don't know how he's still fighting, to be honest with you. I think he had some kind of hearing problem. He might have been a little bit deaf. But anyway, I'm going off on one here, Aussie. Let's roll straight back round to the main event. Valdez against Quigg. Do you share my pick that it will go pretty tight and Quigg will give him a good scrap, or do you think Valdez will get him out of there?
I think Quigg is kind of... He doesn't move his head a lot, does he? And I think that it could be a disaster for him. That's saying... he's always going to be there and things like that. It's going to be interesting. I think Valdez will have too much for him. I know they've shared the ring before when they've sparred and things like that. It's an opportunity for Scott Quigg that was probably unwarranted, but he's got a chance to become to win a world title for the first time, and it'll be interesting. Fair play, he's going out. He's kind of based in America now, isn't he? So. At least that's one thing he's not got to worry about. He's like the jet lag, etc. Things like he's trained out in America for it. He wins. He can go and box Frampton again, can't he, or something like that. But for me, it might just be a step too far. And I think I wouldn't be shocked if Valdez got him out of there. To be honest, hook on that jaw, maybe break it like Frampton did first time round. Ironically, Scott Quigg said Frampton didn't hit hard. He's come out with that again recently. When a guy breaks your jaw, I really don't understand that. But
Frampton responded to it as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I like Frampton. I think he's quite funny. I think he's quite witty, and he's another one who just says it as it is. But no, I think it'd be quite entertaining, to be honest. I think it's going to be the polar opposite of what Frampton Quigg was. I think it could end up being a bit of a war, to be honest, and they just stand there and trade shots with each other. But fair play to Quigg. He's took the opportunity. He's not turned it down, and he's going out there. In terms of the Andy Ruiz fight, I definitely won't remember who the guy he's boxing is because I was 4 at the time. So
no, I've proven to be full of bullshit here. It wasn't the 96 Olympics; it was the 2004 Olympics. So I shaved 8 years off his career.
All right. Well, I was a bit older then, but I still have no clue who he was. Good to see Andy Ruiz Jr. coming back. Can't see him. I think I saw a picture of him in a swimming pool actually. So he's doing some sort of cardio. But
are you sure that wasn't a manatee?
No, it was definitely it. His little his little head popped up. But no, it'd be interesting to see how he was because I quite enjoyed the Parker fight. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I think he's had he must have had 14, 15 months at the ring since.
It's got to be easy, yeah.
So it's a hell of a long layoff. So yeah, let's see what he's like. the opponents there, he probably should win, shouldn't he? So, but yeah, overall, I think going back to the main event, I think Valdez will just have a bit too much for Scott Quigg.
Yeah, it was December 2016 when Parker fought Ruiz, so he has been out for a hell of a long time. We're coming close to the end, guys. We're going to go on to Bellew of the Week soon. Andy, I do want to get your opinion on Quigg. Before you talk about Quigg, we mentioned it earlier, the interim WBC title fight between Regis Prograis and Julius Indongo. I'm very high on Prograis. If anyone's heard our picks for fighters to watch in 2018, I've been high on him for quite a while now. It wasn't going to be Indongo originally, was it? Who the hell was Prograis going to fight? I can't remember. Indongo come in. Was it Postal? It was Postal, wasn't it?
Yeah, he pulled out, as I says, mate, he's injured at the minute, so I think it was him.
Better or worse? What do you think, Indongo?
I really don't know, because I know Indongo's got legal problems now. I forget again what the fuck happened here, but Hearn got an option on him for the Burns fight. He then fought Terence Crawford for the full Buna unification, and his manager or his trainer in Namibia is basically claiming that I think he's signed with DeBella, for example. I forget what. So I really don't know what situation. I mean, he's 35 now. He is awkward. He is tall for the weight, but as you say, Regis Prograis, he's looking good each time. He seems to be carrying the power, get a lot of knockouts at the minute and stuff. So you would think, even at this age, but as he must be pushing 30 now, Prograis. So this is.
I think he's 29, Andy. Yeah.
He's going to win. He's going to win this, and he's going to win it impressively. And I did notice. I read earlier in the day. Actually, Ian John Lewis is the referee for that fight. Ooh. So don't rule out a shit stoppage.
Well, no, because Ian John Lewis doesn't seem as squeamish away from home, does he, as he does on British soil? Do you remember when he nearly got Shannon Briggs killed against Vitali?
True, and Hopkins against Pascal, let fucking Hopkins away with murder, low blows and elbows under the ribs and stuff like that. So I expect Prograis to do the business. Maybe I'm going to go with a stoppage in that fight, maybe a late round stoppage. As for Quigg Valdez, I think this might be a really good fight, actually. I mean, two guys who, if it really gets put on top of them, might just want to stand in the pocket, actually. We know what Quigg can't fucking box off the back foot. He's a kind of come forward, put you to the ropes, pressure type fighter. Valdez has shown us that he's willing to go into the trenches if he's getting pressed or hurt, or maybe having to kind of like fight himself off the ropes and that. So I think we might get a really good fight here, actually, off these two. I'm going to go with Valdez. I think he'll probably do it on points. Quigg's shown us, okay, broken jaw. No, he did last the 12 rounds, I suppose. Apparently that jaw got broken early, so you would think he's still going to be tough enough to kind of go through that again or whatever. But I would think Valdez is going to have slightly too much and probably win it on points.
Rob, anything quick from you on Quigg, aka Chewbacca?
No, I think you lose. That's it. I won't spend too much time on him, man. I don't. He gets a lot of stake, don't he? He's an honest fighter, but yeah.
I think that's a good summation of Quigg, actually. Well done, Rob. Let's go on to the Bellew of the Week and let's get out of here. We've had a few questions coming from people. I'm going to park them for a week where there's not as much going on. We have a good one about super featherweights that Andy would like to get his teeth into, I'm sure. So next week there's not as much on, so we'll hopefully get to those questions and give them the time that they deserve. And then at the end of the show, after we've done the Bellew of the Weeks, don't forget, Andy's going to announce the winner of the book competition, so stay listening for that. Why would you go anywhere else? 194 viewers, nice solid numbers tonight. Thank you for listening in. Hit the thumbs up on the video. We have the little haters who hit the thumbs down. So hit the thumbs up and show them that you enjoy listening to The Asylum. Right, Bellew of the Weeks. Bellew Paco Ali is a regular contributor to the Bellew of the Weeks. He is nominated for Rectitude and Glory on Twitter. Amir Khan, actually. Amir Khan was talking about Errol Spence on the For Rectitude and Glory page. Spence is ideal, says Amir. I have a 100% record with Southpaws. Tyan Booth has been nominated. This is a bit of a sad one, actually.
Oh, fuck. Didn't even go there.
I know he's been talking about all sorts of things, drinking cider, Joe McClellan, Scott Westgarth's death. Someone has nominated him, so I will, for the interest of fairness, put him in. But yeah, that's maybe a mental health story, I think, more than a Bellew of the Week, Andy.
Yeah, move on.
Yeah, we'll leave that one. Turbo Jackson has nominated Dillian White. Dillian White is getting ready for the Lucas Brown fight, and Dillian says, I'm working on a few new things for this one, power and speed. I'm looking to explode on a boy's face come March the 24th. Okay. So, all right, Dillian.
Be my winner already.
There's quite a few this week, quite a few good ones. I can't remember who sent me this one because I haven't been able to screenshot it, but someone has put money on Jake Wood, whoever this is, to turn professional in 2018 and win a world title. 16-1. Oh, is he? Apparently, apologies again for whoever sent this in, but I wasn't able to screenshot it all in. Jake Wood, this character from EastEnders, as you say, Andy, might win a WBA Super, WBC, WBO, or IBF title, and he is 16-1, and someone has put money on it apparently happening.
Fuck, 16-1?
I know, it's very low, isn't it?
WBA would have gave him about at least 2-1.
WBO put him in against Anthony Yard.
Yeah, or a dead opponent possibly as well.
JD Sports are in on the boxing scene these days. That's a great thing, I think. They've been talking about Anthony Joshua. I put up a gif of him knocking out Rafael Zumbano Love. Is this one of the biggest KOs of all time? Anthony Joshua talks us through his brutal KO of Rafael Love. You know, only his 12th professional fight. Only his 12th professional fight, man. And he was going in against the likes of Rafael Love already. Amazing. One of the biggest KOs of all time, possibly, says JD Sports. Casual. And if an organisation can be casual, then there they are. Right, Greg Cross has nominated Daniel Walsh. Daniel Walsh, I can get on board with this, Daniel. Sky Sports Boxing, the comeback of Ringside, needs to have Spencer Fearon on it weekly.
Oh, no.
We need more of the knowledge.
No. No, we don't.
No, we really don't. Jay Steele 88 has nominated Tactical Dominator. Box Nation were tweeting out, can Sergey Kovalev reclaim the light heavyweight throne this year? And Tactical Dominator jumped in and said, for 5 minutes until Anthony Yard comes up for the crown.
Fuck.
I've said it before. Yard, no harm to the fella. I'm sure he's going to be a good professional. But if they put him in against Sergey Kovalev, it would end very, very badly. Right. The Josh Hussey has nominated Tommy Lee Robinson. Oh, this must be that Tommy Robinson. That's that. Is that that?
Is that the EDL guy?
Possibly. I don't know. But anyway, they were talking about Javonta Davis, and Tommy Lee Robinson, whoever he is, jumped in and says, Javonta is a different breed. Not different breed, a different bread. And then he put what looks like a little picture of like a gorilla or something. So, I mean, I don't quite know what this character's up to, but yeah, maybe it is.
Well, that character needs to come to Scotland actually and see if he can source me any fucking bread. I can't get bread or milk anywhere in the fucking parish, man.
I'm Ireland, by the way, eating croissants here, like the French.
Croissants? Fuck your French, by the way. I know you're just across the water from, but fuck the French.
I'm going to tell you, no, that's I don't know, we might have to rule out that because Javante calls himself an ape, doesn't he? And he's constantly putting the gorilla emoji on his Instagram posts, so that's where he's
okay, right, fair enough. I didn't know that, Rob, so apologies to Mr. Tommy Lee Robinson, but you've been nominated for saying these different bread anyway. James Follow Punch put up a picture of Triple G and Canelo, and Mr. Propaganda said, why does Canelo's head look twice as large as Triple G's? Well, obviously, it's the way the camera shot's been taken with Canelo ahead of Triple G. So Mr. Slick Propaganda, easy for me to say, gets a nomination for that. Bellew Paco Ali, you may strap in, by the way, boys, because I've got about 57 of these frigging things. Eddie Hearn was talking about being excited for the Brook fight. George Hayes says super Eddie Hearn. Dominic Henry has he's nominated Nazim Richardson. Deontay Wilder may be the most gifted fighter since Muhammad Ali, says Nazim Richardson.
Potential winner there.
Potential winner there. Dominic Henry has also nominated Kevin Mitchell from The Guardian. In the last paragraph of his article, the inimitably bad Kevin Mitchell says that Josh Taylor is a light middleweight and that prospects for Taylor versus either Khan or Brook are slim because of promotional obstacles. He's having a bit of a mare lately, Rob, is Mitchell.
That's brutal, man. That's very, very bad.
It is a bad one.
That's the guy that's on the mainstream media as well. I mean, talk about casualitis, fuck's sake. Fuck
the mainstream. Steve Kim was talking about Deontay Wilder. John Ehrenhofer jumped in and says, I like Wilder at 214. Under 220 pounds, he is Holmes-like. I'm more like Eamon Holmes, as I said to Chad Hogan, who nominated him. Chris Blackman has nominated Carl Newman. Newman says, Rabchenko is not the best, but Kell Brook looked like an absolute monster at this weight. Has always had the best jab in world boxing. The best jab in world boxing.
Fucking hell, it was Anthony Joshua had it just last year, according to Barry Hearn.
No.
The jab of Larry Holmes, remember?
There were quite a few Kell Brook ones came in. Dean Glover has nominated Tom Chetwin. Chetwin says, Kell Brook is a phenomenal athlete and a technically gifted fighter. Should go on to dominate this division and retire by putting the glass jaw on his back. Hashtag all of the lights. I think he's talking about Amir Khan. Dean Glover's nominated Kell Brook himself. I'm the Terminator and I'm back. Who else? Paddy Considine, I think this is the actor. He said, I've seen Special K, Brook and Rabchenko spar some good rounds, and Sergei always gave it back. That was a solid performance from Kell. He looked strong and can reign in the light middleweight division. Tommy Roosh has nominated Danny Allen. Danny Allen says Kell Brook will knock out Errol Spence at 154. Owen Hickey has nominated this Brendan Schaub, is it? Straight up the best heavyweight fight ever. Wilder's 10th round KO, stays undefeated. Was down on the scorecards. The best heavyweight fight ever. Has he never seen like Lyle against Foreman or any of those type of fights? Bo against Holyfield.
That guy shouldn't be allowed. I mean, he's got like mainstream channels and stuff like that. He shouldn't be allowed to speak combat sports. He's an MMA fighter and a bad one at that, for what I've been told.
Oh right, okay. I didn't know who it was.
That was a guy that Joe Rogan basically retired live on his podcast, basically saying, you know, he was wanting to fight. I forget who he was wanting to fight anyway. And Joe Rogan says, "Listen, pal, he will fuck you up."
Is this Brendan Schaub?
Yep, you need to retire for the sport. You're gonna get fucking ruined. And guess what? He retired.
No, he's a good personality, that guy. He's a stand-up comedian as well, but it's kind of not his fault. Showtime are after giving him a show covering all combat sports because he was the co-commentator on the McGregor-Mayweather fight, so it's kind of not his fault. You know what I mean? He's towing the company line a little bit, like, but that was outlandish bullshit, like, and he's never watched boxing in his life, clearly. Either is Rogan, by the way, from the way he goes on.
Well, he's not alone on his comments anyway, because Dan Mills has nominated Jason Sangster, who said that was the best heavyweight fight he'd seen in over 15 years. Well, I mean, I suppose, fair enough. Jarrett MC is nominated Jermaine Alert for talking about Cunningham and Klitschko. Ricky Gravel has nominated Ishe Smith for having beef with a fake Steve Kim account. He called Kim out. Rob, you would have liked it. He was calling Kim out. You've always been a shit writer and all this type of stuff. It wasn't even the real Steve Kim. It was a fake one, apparently. So that was a good one. Chad Hogan has nominated Gary for saying that Kell Brook was 5 or 6 rounds up against Errol Spence. He's also nominated Gabe. I know exactly. This was who said it? Gary O'Connor was saying that he was 5 or 6 rounds up until the injury.
He's been my shit
list. Best weight. Blah blah blah. Gabe Lewis has been nominated as well by Chad Hogan. Gabe said Triple G is triple garbage. Didn't beat Canelo in the first fight, and damn sure won't beat him in the second. So Gabe has got a nomination there.
Gabe hates Triple G. Always has done.
Oh, he does. Errol Spence obviously said that if Kell Brook gets a world title, I'll fight him at 154. Chris Evans said, different fight. Special K Brook wouldn't be killing himself to make weight now. You can't fight at middleweight, then drop down to welter in your next fight. Lee Grant as well. Arrogant this, he says to Errol Spence. Arrogant. You beat by an injury. I was actually there that night, and you were getting your head slapped off for the majority. Take nothing away from your win, but facts are facts. What facts are those? The facts that Spence was ahead on all 3 judges' scorecards. What are the facts you need in that situation, Rob?
At least he's not taken away from his win anyway.
There's going to be matchroom bots. There's got to be. That's awful.
There's a lot of these coming into play now, isn't there? These matchroom bot things.
Well, they're all out of a job after Russia dumped their contract because they were outed by the FBI. So Eddie snatched them up.
Dave Loback bringing the fake news on a Sunday night there. Alex Arthur was talking about Josh Taylor looking spectacular. Richard Longbottom said, fighting shit like that, do me a favour. Taylor's more pampered than a baby's arse. Chad Hogan nominated him. He's also nominated Charles Farrell for saying that Anthony Joshua will be the first $1 billion fighter. Ben has nominated Andre Durrell for singing at the press conference. I didn't see this, but a few people mentioned this. Ben also bet on Kid Galahad to get beat by the mighty Irving Berry. Let's have a look. Mark Halsall has nominated Paulie for admiring how calm Ortiz was under pressure when he was on the verge of getting rendered unconscious. Tim has nominated Deadspin for talking about the Joshua Wilder fight. Durrell quit again. That's Monocle 78. Our friend Leon has nominated Glasses Malone. Glasses Malone tweeted Lou DiBello and said, Lou, what do you think? Lennox Lewis had size but lacked heart. Holyfield had heart but lacked power. Tyson had power but lacked size. Wilder and AJ both have heart, size, and power. Oh, that's going to take some beating.
Oh. You want to be careful with him, man. Glasses Malone is a gang-affiliated rapper from the West Coast, so I have no problem with that statement. Good man, Glasses.
You know what? I think he actually makes a really good point there, now that I think about it.
Is this legit? If so, I would just score that off the list there.
Yeah, I'm going to knock that off the list. Well said, Glasses. I thoroughly
He's a prick.
That's okay for you. You're like fucking 6 hours flight away. You cunt.
It's all right for him. Dave sits with a gun on his lap.
I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
He sleeps with it. Probably wanks with it as well.
Just like James Bond.
Right, Derek has nominated Aaron Weldon. Aaron Weldon, another one of these ones who's responded to Errol Spence. Injury-free, different result in my eyes. In Kell Brook's eyes, more like. Joseph Webb against... who we got? Oh, Joseph Webb has nominated Jonathan Schrager. Brook's assertion that timing beats speed underscores the pervasiveness of McGregor within the realm combat sports, if only in his rhetoric and mannerisms. Who is this Jonathan Schrager? Has he swallowed a dictionary or something? I'm happy to nominate him. And that, gentlemen, is the last one that I've got. Anybody else?
I've got just a couple. I know we're going late, so I'll make a quick.
Go on, you're all right, Rob. Go ahead.
This Michelle Joy Phelps character, like I'm sick of her. Like I am.
You would though, Rob. You would.
1,000,000%, but like that doesn't but like she put up I saw someone retweet someone put a picture of Dave Allen staring at a rack and was like, at least she didn't make it there because of the way she looks, and she addressed it. She was like, so what if that's part of it? I'm not even nominating her, but like, all right, that is part of it. It's not just part of it, that's it. Like you're not no fountain of knowledge, you're no better than Coogan, right? And Coogan stays behind the camera for a reason. Listen, and then all the trade in that, she put up that tweet, like, and there was about 100 Twitter Romeos going, don't mind the haters, Michelle. I think you do a great job. Oh, you're the best. Oh, you're insightful. Shut up, all you, right? She's not going to acknowledge you unless you have a belt around your waist and you're 6'4" heavyweight. Like, get out of there. Like, what do you think you're going to achieve from that? So, following on from that, when she was
Tommy Allen.
Yeah, apart from Tommy, who's definitely going to kidnap her someday. But getting on from that, then Galahad interrupted her Brook post-fight interview to say, because he tried to kind of cockblock Brook, even though Brook is not buying what she's selling, I don't think. He jumped in on the interview and was like, oh, can I get a mention? This performance is down to the Galahad, because Billy Joe Saunders was at the Galahad and Brook was at the Galahad, and we've created a relaxed environment. Well, I'll tell you what you want to do. Guide your drink at the Galahad in case someone spikes it. So that's all my values for the week.
Is that a threat, Rob, or just a suggestion?
A suggestion.
Go ahead, Andy. You got any for us?
I got one in there for Brian King late there. One for Dick Warlock. Basically says Bivol has beaten absolutely no cunt near the top 25 at light heavyweight. Loving over him is very odd, right? So Barrera basically is now a top 25 light heavyweight apparently. So Dick Warlock for not Bellew, but I'm going to pick my winner right now. I'm going to go for Dillian White. That, exploding over a white boy's face was actually quite, banterastic.
That was a good one. I like that one as well. The one that you just said about Barrera. I'm definitely on the Bivol hype train. That's a load of bullshit. Ozzy, you got anything for us?
Yeah, I've just got the one. It's from @Lewis_Carville on Twitter. CARVILLE. @Eddie Hearn. You've done it again. What an unbelievable night of boxing yet again. There's level to this, games. And that was in regards to Saturday night's card against involving Kell Brook. People have criticised him and he's gone on the defence. All the matchmaker can do is make the fights. There are some great matchups. All of them are 50-50s.
Jesus Christ.
All sounds fair enough to me. What do you think, Dave?
I was going to just throw in Michael Benson. I know we're not giving the award to him anymore, but the cunt posted a tweet that linked to his own site. And after this, and this is after he said links were too ugly to post in his beautiful tweets. Also, Lil Kim, that was a miserable performance as they were walking into the ring, screaming Brooklyn with her tits hanging out and her face looking like Amir Khan's wife. And I don't know. They had she had this fat guy next to her who was also really bad. I don't know. It was a poor entrance, I thought, from Wilder. And I don't get what this whole Brooklyn thing is about. Isn't he from Alabama?
Yeah, but it's Al Heyman we're talking about here.
So everyone's like, Brooklyn. Like, he's not Danny Jacobs. He's not Peter Quillen. He's from Alabama.
You ever been to Brooklyn, Dave?
Yeah, I was there for I was there for Jacobs Lee and for Vadu Jack James DeGale. Great venue.
3 sleeps till Brooklyn, boys.
I just remembered, actually, Ben was talking about Kid Galahad. I remembered somebody last night, I can't remember who it was to credit them, but they said they always get the impression that everyone around Galahad, you know, like the Ingles and that, they all think that he's a wee wanker, but nobody really wants to say anything because they still could get like a world title percentage payday off him yet. They're all staying quiet. I do get that impression myself, so fair play whoever said that. Right, there's a lot of good ones this week. I like the Dillian White one as well, but I'm afraid to say this, Rob, but I'm going to go for Glasses Malone. You know, Lennox had heart size but lacked heart. Holyfield had heart but lacked power. Tyson had power but lacked size. But basically trying to find, you know, a detrimental attribute of each one when they're all great fighters, and then saying Wilder and AJ have heart, size, and power all together. It's got to be Glasses Malone for me.
I'm going to go for Shaw, man. That's criminal. Brendan Shaw. But even though I like the guy, yeah, that's criminal. Like, say that's the best fight of all time.
JD Sports was a good one too as well, talking about the best KO of all time, Rafael Zambano love. Any love from you, Ozzy, for that one?
No, I'm going to go with the Dillian White one about, what was it, doing something to a young man's face or something like that.
Exploding over a white man's face.
Yeah.
Exploding over, no, what he said was, I'm going to explode over a boy's face.
See that. Did we mention Eddie Hearn as well, actually, for his comments about Brook being the #1 fighter at 154? No, even though his best wins at 154 is Carson Jones and Sergey Rabchenko.
I know, but sure, you know what Eddie's like.
Hearn could get a lot for this week. The shit he's been talking in the interviews this week, especially. Oh, yeah, Hearn. I wanted to mention Hearn because he said Wilder hasn't tried to unify the title. Well, we know why that is, asshole, because as soon as Fury vacated them all, you were tying all of them up, paying fellas £6 million to come over and lie down, asshole. Anyway.
Joe Gallagher should have responded to that Dillian White tweet and said, I'm about to explode all over a dog's arse.
Dave, generic accent. Right, Dave, come on, who are you going for? We need to get out of here.
Glasses Malone.
Glasses Malone. 2 for Glasses Malone. Andy, have you picked?
Dillian White.
Oh, no, he's gone for Dillian White as well, so it's a 2-2 share. So we've got a joint one. What do you reckon?
Who was that one who said somebody was like Muhammad Ali?
Oh, frig me. I don't know, Dave. That was ages ago.
Brother Nazim.
Oh, that was Nazim. Yeah, that was Nazim.
Oh, yeah, Nazim Richardson. That was terrible. I'll go for him. That way you can give it to that other one.
Right, fair enough. I don't really know
Dillian White.
Yeah, congratulations, Dillian White, for Bellew of the Week. Andy, right, tell us about this book competition before we close out.
Yep, Tommy got me the book back, so it's been signed by the man. So it goes. The winner goes to Prime Tyke Myson at Picking Frick on Twitter. He sent in, and the winner is Mark Prince versus Michael Gale. But I believe it might have been a eliminator for the British light heavyweight title.
Jesus Christ, I remember that. That was about 1993, wasn't it?
1997, precisely.
Oh, was it?
Yep. Round 6 is absolutely tremendous.
That is a brilliant fight. I've forgotten all about that fight, actually.
Yeah, it's absolutely tremendous. I watched it the other night there just because of the snow and stuff like that. That was my pick. The version that I got is only the highlights and that, but it's absolutely brilliant. So at Picking Frick, if you get in touch with me on Twitter, DM me your details, your name, and your address, and I'll get the signed book over to you. Hopefully next week. Depending on what the weather's like.
I was trying to remember what card it was on. It was on the undercard of Steve Robinson against Billy Hardy for the featherweight title in Sunderland. Yeah.
I remember that fight. Was that the first or the second fight? Because I remember Hardy fought for the IBF title at least once or twice in Sunderland.
This was for the European title. I think it was before. Right. I think it was the first one.
Yeah, I think he lost the IBF title fight in Sunderland actually.
Yeah. Gale against Prince, no way. Gale against Prince was an excellent fight. Anyway, well done to Mr. Whoever you were. We'll close out, I think. Go and leave an iTunes review, all those lovely things. Thank you for listening, everybody. We've had Hater Dave on the call. We've had Andy Patterson, Ozzy Smith, Rob Kelly. Gabe was on earlier as well. So was Ben. And also thanks to our guests, Rowan Date and Mark Heffron. If you have any guest suggestions or anybody you know wants to come on the call, let us know. Give me the number and I'll ring them up. Simple as that. We'll catch you all next week, guys. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bomb Squad!